No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today, very, very excited to bring everybody a conversation with Mike Rashid. How you doing, man?
I'm excellent, sir. How about yourself?
Excellent.
Good.
Having a great day in the middle of this fitness journey. Had a nice weigh-in this morning, so I'm feeling extra good.
How's that going for you so far?
Excellent. I'm down like 13 pounds or so.
What's your weight?
227.
And what'd you start at?
240.
And what's your height?
6'3".
Okay, that's good.
Trying to get to 200.
What time frame have you been so far?
About a month and a half or so, I would say.
So that's a nice steady pace.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want. You don't want to like lose a bunch fast. It's not sustainable.
That's part of why I want to do this, is because I got a lot of people who work here who are telling me, oh, I'm gonna lose weight because I'm gonna do this juice diet or I'm gonna do this cleanse or whatever. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna work out super hard today and then not for 2 weeks. And it's like, I just keep telling them, it's not about doing anything extreme. It's about just making intelligent decisions and having a game plan for every day and being able to repeat it over and over and being able to fuck up and just take it to the chin and then just keep going after that, you know?
Right. It's about finding a sustainable means of clean eating, and exercise. And people think they gotta be lifting weights or gotta do this and do that. You could play basketball. Mm-hmm. You could do Zumba. You could dance. As long as you're moving the body. You know? People drop dead in this country for 2 reasons: diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease.
Right.
And it's because people are not eating properly or eating too much and eating the wrong shit and not exercising.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Also, just the depression level, rates are super high.
Right.
All of that because people are not mobile. They're not moving.
Definitely. I mean, I personally see my happiness level basically align with my weight, where if I'm depressed and I feel horrible about life, then I'm gonna fucking gain weight and be eating shitty. And if you're just putting shitty food into your body every day and not exercising, how could you even expect yourself to feel good on a day-to-day basis? Like, not to fat shame, not to shit on people, but when I see people who are just at a really extreme weight level, it's hard for me to really see it as anything other than like depression that's basically manifesting in front of our face, right?
100%. Think about sex being obese. And here's the thing: I talk to so many people, and you have an overweight cat, and I be trying to talk to him about his stuff, his situation, and he be like, "But I'm good." I'm like, "You're not good, bro.
You might be good for like this week.
You're not good, right?
This year.
He's not good. He's lying to himself,
Right?
But it's like, it's so many benefits to being fit, right?
Right.
Your mind operates better. You don't have that brain fog. You have energy throughout the day. Sex drive is through the roof. You know what I'm saying? And people treat you different when you look the part, when it looks like you take care of yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that's a big part of what's driving me to get in shape too, is just the fact that I believe that when people look at you, they tend to gravitate towards the most obvious parts of your personality, the most out there things about you, and they base their impression of you on that. And so I think when I look at somebody like Dan Bilzerian, I look at him as a marketing genius because he stays in super good shape. And so people notice
huge.
that right away.
Yeah.
And then they see him with tons of girls, and then they base their entire opinion of him on that. And as a result, he's basically been able to paint himself as kind of like the premier playboy / dude who's really in shape in America these days in terms of followers, everything like that. He never entered a bodybuilding competition. He's not trying to compete on the same metrics as everybody else.
Right.
But when the way he presents himself is like he's really, really good at these two things, and then nobody cares about anything else. Once if you can demonstrate mastery of a couple things, then a lot of people will completely turn to their back to the other things that might be lacking as part of your personality.
Correct. See, it's like there's a whole nother component to it too, right? I look at it like this, like stress, right? Stress to me is my best friend. I'm like, bring it, please, right? You get to, like, when you work out on a regular and, are on top of your nutrition, that's stressful. Working out is literally stressful. You're causing stress to your body, right? What you're doing is you're teaching yourself stress management, how to handle it properly, right? Stress is stress. I don't care if it's in the gym, at work, at school, whatever, right? So, and if you're doing this every day, you're learning how to properly mitigate stress or the negative effects of stress and making it a positive. Now, you do this every day, that carries into your everyday life, right? You're a more disciplined person. You see things through, you know what I'm saying? You become a harder person in a sense of like, shit don't affect you as much as the average person, Listen, bro, I'm called to the aid of many. You know what I mean? And when I get there and they're crying, broken down, I'm like, all right, what's going on? And when they tell me, I'm just like in my head, like, God damn, that's it. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot. It's a lot that I've gained over the years, just being in the gym all the time. And honestly, my reason for training wasn't nothing other than I liked it. I was a kid looking at Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, and I wanted to be strong like those guys. You know what I mean? And that was just the vibe. I'm from Brooklyn. That was the vibe in my neighborhood. Like, we was super competitive. Everybody played football, raced, like whatever, everything. And you just want to always try to have that edge, that advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of the thing about lifting weights or staying in shape that is so impressive to people, is the fact that if you look at a guy and he's got like a big built ass chest, or if you see him in the gym and he's throwing up 315 for 10 reps, you don't need to know anything else about him to know that he has spent a very significant chunk of his life torturing himself and putting himself through real pain and hardship in the gym. And that just tells you a fuckload about a person. Like, the one thing that I'm always trying to get across when I talk to people about dieting stuff is like, this is just the process of you making little good decisions, little healthy decisions over and over and over. And to really have like a tremendous amount of muscle on you, people don't even realize. Like, to be skinny is one thing. To actually carry around some significant amount of size, I mean, putting muscle on is a fucking massive challenge for most people, even people who are pretty genetically drawn to it. I mean, it's still just a very difficult thing to get and to maintain. So anybody who looks at a person like that, they kind of know right away. And anybody who I think would like joke on a person for that is somebody who recognizes immediately, like, oh, this is a person who's sacrificed a shitload to look like this. Right. And a lot of people might be kind of challenged by that.
Yeah, for sure. People fear what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer. So they think, and listen, it's funny, like, they put me on Shade Room one time, like smash or pass type shit. Like, they just put me on there, right?
Just randomly.
Yeah, and you should see the girls that were like, you was fat girls.
Yeah.
I'm like, right, sure, I'm you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People automatically reject what they feel like they can't have. Just like people who say, oh, money's evil, it's not about money. It's because they feel like they can never have money. You know what I'm saying? So they have to condemn it. Like, why don't you just try to get it? Or just don't say anything. You know what I'm saying? Just sit over there. Because, look, I don't push my lifestyle on anybody, right? I provide, it's people that follow me for inspiration on all kind of things. So I try to give them the best information that I can give. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm not shoving it down anybody's throat because I don't care.
If some, like, plus-size woman was to leave that comment about you, it's kind of weird because it's like...
It's so bizarre.
It's just like...
It's so bizarre.
Like, why? Like,
if I did that to her...
Yeah. But if you want to not like me based on my personality or my ideas or something I've done, that's one thing. But, like, to look at a guy who's in real good shape and be like, ew, is like...
And it's not like confusing. I'm over the top 300 pounds.
Right.
5'4", 300 pounds. You know what I'm saying?
If they said that about Ronnie Coleman when he's on stage, I understand.
Yeah, I get that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Have you ever seen him?
In real life, yes. I got his autograph in 2008 at GNC.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's kind of weathered down now, but...
Now it's rough, yeah.
That dude is... Look, people think that, see what he gets? I'm like, nah, he don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He lived the life that he wanted to live like a fucking savage, and he's riding it out. You know what I'm saying?
He's an innovator. I was just watching, like, the trailer for that documentary about him because I watched the documentary years ago, and, it's just the fact that he really, like, took bodybuilding to a totally different level in terms of how much he was lifting, and the fact that he really didn't give a fuck about the long run. Like, he just went for it. I don't know.
I fucks with that.
Yeah.
Because me personally, like, all my years growing up, I never thought I'd be old. I'm like, I just go too hard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's interesting because I have that mentality of, like, I want to live like a lion. You know what I'm saying? Lions don't live long. And just, I don't want to be an old, feeble man. They patching me together. Right. Take me out to the desert, put a hot one in my head. You know what I'm saying?
How old are you now?
45.
45, okay. So I'm 38. Okay. Yeah, that's something I think about a lot. Like, when I was having the conversation with Dan Bilzerian about testosterone, and he was kind of like, he's like, you could you could have a Lamborghini and it's not going to last forever, but it's really fun while you got it. Or you could have a Honda that lasts forever and it's not particularly exciting while you're doing it. That was his argument. And I'm kind of like, bro, I have a kid. I'm planning on having more kids.
Yeah.
I definitely want to live to be an old man if at all possible. Like, I definitely want to stretch this thing out, you know?
So, okay, so my perspective have shifted over the years, right? Because, like, for my size, I'm really strong, right? So, and I got a big-ass ego, you know what I mean? So, I ego lift, right? But I do a lot of things based on my ego, but it usually benefits people, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't think ego is necessarily bad. However, I got a real dominant personality. So, if I'm in a gym and somebody's getting after it, I got to go near them and do more than them.
Really?
Even if I ain't on that body part, you know what I'm saying? I'm stupid like that. Like, look, I be in the backyard with my dog. He'll piss, I piss. He'll piss, I piss. I try to beat him. And then when I'm out, I make him go in the house. You know what I'm saying?
An additional piss? Like, you'll take one piss and then just have another one ready to go?
I'll save it, yeah. But I don't have that much. Like, he's unlimited, so I make him go in the house. It's stupid, but it's just, you know, it's silly shit. But in real life, you know, I'm a very competitive person. You know what I'm saying? But it's a healthy competition. Like, for instance, me and my business partner, it's like we battle to bring value to our company. You know what I'm saying? And as a result of it, our growth is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not like I'm never jealous of anyone or trying to outdo somebody, unless it's people I don't know. I don't really give a fuck.
Right.
You know. But yeah, it's like male peacocks showing their feathers.
Right.
I'm that motherfucker.
See, okay, I remember reading about dating when I read The Game back in like 2008 or something like that.
You read that?
Yeah, and I first found out about the whole pickup thing, and I'm reading this book, and they're saying like, oh, what you do is you pull up to the club with a red leather fucking cowboy hat, and this is called peacocking, and all the chicks will have to pay it. Hell no. I was like, that's the gayest shit I ever heard in my fucking life.
Right.
But I was like I'm looking down at my arms. I'm like, damn, you got all these tattoos. You already been peacocking. Like, you already understood that before you read this in this book, that you wanted to make yourself stand out. I feel like I respect a guy who lifts weights so they can get in really good shape, or a guy who gets tattoos or whatever to look a certain way. Like that, I feel like is more respectable. Whereas I just never really want to be the guy who's having to rock a designer fit every single day so that I can let people know what kind of person I am, you know?
Well, here's the thing. When you in shape, like, I don't really, clothes, whatever, I'm not a fashion guy. I wear simple shit. When you're in shape, you don't have to get all dressed up. You know what I'm saying? I care about accessories only, like a nice watch, you know what I'm saying? Some glasses, I'm cool. You'll never see me scarves and all of this shit. When I see dudes like all fucking crazy,
right?
I'm like, bro, you was in the mirror for how long? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's weird.
Very weird.
I think that's weird. I don't let my son be in the mirror. I'm like, what are you doing? Get out the mirror, boy. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think our culture might like over exaggerate the value of fashion. And the reason why is because that's how corporations make money.
Yeah, so most people are consumers.
Right.
You got producers and consumers. Most people are consumers. See, like me, if I see some fly shit that I like, I'm like, and I wear it, and it's on the gram, and people are like, yo, where'd you get that at? I'll be like, if I get enough interest, I'm gonna make that shit. I'm gonna sell it myself. You know what I'm saying? That's how I think.
Right.
I can't help it. You know?
Definitely.
That's that competitive nature, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, y'all like this? I'm gonna make money off it.
That's why I've always been the way that I am, too, is because it was like, how am I gonna go waste all this money on a bunch of Supreme shit when they're like a skateboard company that, they're cool, but I don't feel like y'all are cooler than me and my friends. Even though realistically, when I was young, I was totally full of shit. They were way cooler than me and my friends when I look at it now.
But it's okay to think that.
I had my own thing going on, and I'm like, I'm going to wear a shirt from some fucking band that I saw play last weekend, or I'm going to wear a shirt from a bike company that I fuck with, or my friend's brand or whatever. Like, I always wanted to wear shit that was more representative of what I was interested in. Right. And a lot of times, and this is not an attack on the Da Vinci shirt, because I got plenty of designer shit. I'm wearing $700 Montclair pants for some reason right now.
And you probably worked out on them.
No. I got to take a shower before I do interviews in here. But I don't know. Just in general, I feel like because we all know mad people who are millionaires. Like if you go to clubs and shit, you'll see a million dudes. They're 50 years old. They're millionaires. They pay bitches to stand around with them, etc. But ultimately, like they gotta rock all this shit because Otherwise, nobody would look twice at them. Nobody
Right.
would ever think, oh, maybe this guy has money.
Right.
But then he throws on a Gucci tracksuit, and all of a sudden people think, oh, this guy got money.
Right, right.
It's just a sad state of affairs
So
sometimes.
it's interesting because I think it's kind of goofy,
Mm.
right? You know, I've been making money for a long time, so it's nothing to me. It's something, but it's not like, hey, everybody, look at me. If I have some fly shit, it's because I really fucking like it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's interesting. But when I was young, I used to think like when I see the old dude in a Lambo or whatever, I'm like, fuck that. I want to be young driving that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I always had a certain. It's interesting, bro. Like when I experience certain things in life or see these things, I gotta have it. I figure out a way to get it. You know what I mean? It used to not be the right way that I was getting things, but I still got it. And that drive has never left me. You know what I'm saying?
What's your attitude on women at this point in your life?
In terms of what?
In terms of how you approach them, like what do you think your best setup is in terms of, do you like being in a committed relationship? Do you prefer to, have a roster going?
Well, I believe I prefer a committed, loving relationship. I'm poly, so typically my relationships is multiple women, but it's ethical. I'm not lying to no one. I'm not doing anything behind my woman's back. So they feel comfortable, they feel safe, you know what I mean? So because the reality of the situation is this, like typically, I'm not saying always, but typically a man is as faithful as his options, you know what I mean? So now I have friends that are also very successful, good-looking dudes that's good with one, you know what I'm saying? But most people are not. Most people want some variety, you know? I am no different than most people. I want variety. However, I want love too. I love loving someone hard and 100% and them giving it back to me, not that broken love because I've done that before too, cheated, get her back, it ain't the same.
You know guys who
that.
are in relationships where they cheat all the time, they got domestic violence going on. When the
trash.
chick finds out, they're screaming in each other's face,
trash.
throwing clothes off the balcony.
Right. See, I like to the people that I fuck with, that I love, I want to be a person that brings value to their lives in whatever way, especially a woman. Even if it don't work out, I want to be a good example of a man. You know what I'm saying? They could be like, well, fuck, he was real. He never lied to me about these bitches, and you know what I'm saying? And I'll never because girls are like, one time, I used to not put my private anything out there, right? So I did Fresh and Fit, and their community, look, I didn't know what their thing was. I didn't know anything about Red Pill, Manosphere, none of that shit.
Was this a couple years ago when you did it?
Nah, this was last year.
Okay.
They came on mine, I went on this, a lot of debating. So I did their first one, and they're asking me about girls, and I'm just saying my normal shit, like nice shit. I didn't know the Red Pill thing. I didn't know that was a thing. Only time I heard Red Pill was The Matrix. You know what I'm saying? So I noticed later I'm looking at the comments, and motherfuckers going in on me. He's a simp. He's a this.
Because you didn't say anything about being
Negative.
polyamorous. You just
I
said,
just love.
right.
Yeah.
And they very much don't appreciate that.
Right. Well, they do, Fresh and Fit.
Right. But
Their
the fans,
community don't. You know?
Yeah.
Well, they just don't know. You know what I'm saying? They can't know. Right? So I'm like, this is weird. What? Simp? Me? I wish y'all would say that shit to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, all right. So then they come to Cali. They do mine. And we're just fucking fighting, debating. It was healthy dialogue, you know what I'm saying? So, go back to theirs, and this time I'm like, fuck. No, I think they did mine twice. They did once with just them, and then another one with Mr. Organic. And then I went out there, I'm like, I'm gonna fuck all y'all heads up. So I took both girls on. So, and we talked about it, right? So, the night show, they had a bunch of girls on, all asking questions. So, and academics was on there too. So every girl they ask, would you be in a polyamorous situation? Especially mine, just me and the women, and it's just me. They don't do anything outside of this, right? So everybody was like, no, right? By the end of the night, they asked the questions again. Everybody, yeah, I mean, it sounds great. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because when you're a mature person, and I've touched on all facets of life, I've never had a problem getting girls, so that's not a focus of mine. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a confident person, so I'm not girl crazy for one. So, and listen, I have really good women in my family that I love and I respect and I appreciate. I love being around women. You know what I'm saying? Even in a platonic situation, I'd rather ride with girls than guys because shit, girls will stand up for you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm explaining everything in a very normal and rational way. My girls are smart and they're hot. They're not like you would expect girls to be in that situation to be bimbos. You know what I'm saying? And they're not. You feel me? And they're attractive. So that all of that gives more credibility to the situation. And all of the girls are like, I get it. I get cheated on all the fucking time. It sucks. And like, if I wasn't in a position to comfortably take care of my women, I wouldn't be trying to have all these women. You know what I'm saying?
So if you're going to have a woman, do you feel like you should be paying her living expenses to some extent?
Yeah. If we're really together.
Right.
If I'm with somebody and I'm really with somebody, I pay your whole life. Like, it don't, but I got to know that you're really down. I don't come at girls like, yo, I got this. I don't do none of that shit. You ain't getting nothing out of me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I remember one time a girl came out. I flew her out from Costa Rica to chill. And we had to go to the mall I had to get a shirt for dinner. She picked up a bikini. And she was like, so when are you going to spoil me? I was like, what? She said, spoil me. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, shop. She got uncomfortable, right? So I'm like, oh, this is one of those. Because that shit don't happen to me. Girls don't come at me like that.
Really?
So I'm like, wow, so, okay, is that what normally happens? I said, I don't do that.
Right.
I'm not getting you anything. You had a nice flight out here. You know what I'm saying? You got a nice suite. And we're going to have fun. That's it. So we get to talking. This is fascinating to me. So look, I'm not the type of person that shuts shit down. I want to, when people say wild shit, I want to know more. I want to see how they got to that. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking, going back and forth. And I was like, yeah, the more I'm listening to her and we're going back and forth, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of weird now.
Right.
She was like, is the vibe gone? I was like, kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I dropped her back off, you know what I mean?
At the airport or at the hotel?
At her hotel. And we went to dinner and all that shit, but that was it. Like, I was not interested after that. You know what I'm saying?
See, I'm gonna be real with you. I did not have any money when I started my current relationship.
Right.
So I have no idea what it's like to be single with a significant amount of money, like where a girl can tell you're a millionaire and what they try to get out of you. Because my whole time that I was single, I would like take a girl to dinner and they would always act like this was like some fancy ass shit. Like I'm balling because I just spent like $100 on dinner. And to me, you know, I had money, but not like that, you know? So $100 for dinner is cool, but I wasn't like balling out. Like no girl ever asked me to buy her a bag or get a table at the club or anything like that.
This is the first time that's ever happened to me, Adam.
Really?
It was so weird. You know what I'm saying? And I think that I don't carry myself like that guy.
Right.
That, like, hey, baby, I got this. That's just stupid.
Because a lot of dudes, that's like their hobby. They get real used to it, and they like the feeling of kind of having that control over a woman. And especially these like crazy rich basketball guys. Sometimes I'll hear about them having a different chick in every city that they have games in. So they pay her living expenses, and they basically like, you know, realistically, the chick's probably fucking whoever she feels like fucking, but they have the idea in their head that they got this situation when they're in Cleveland, and you know.
I'm not with that. I'm not with those vibes.
That's a lot of work.
I think first that part.
I don't want a phone with 20 different chicks, and I got my chick from Ohio hit me today, and my chick from New Jersey hit me the next day. That's just a lot.
It's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, dude.
But my thing is like, I'd rather it be consolidated, concise, and we just know what's going on. And I'm not trying to have a chick in every. Just come with me. You know what I'm saying? Or meet somebody else, fill out the vibe, whatever. But nah, I'm not that guy.
See, when me and my girl met, we would just have threesomes with girls randomly, and she would find girls on Instagram and have them come over the crib and hook up, whatever. And then over time, that kind of turned into us being like, well, as long as we're going to take an hour or two out of our day to have some girl come over and hook up, why don't we just make content out of it and make a fucking OnlyFans so that people could see it? So now it creates kind of a weird scenario where I don't almost ever fuck a girl with my girl unless we're filming it. You know, it happens a few times, once in a blue moon, but for the most part, we don't really do it because now it doesn't even, like, why wouldn't we pull our phone out when the amount of money that we can make off of this shit is just ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of made me realize that I don't aspire to have a bunch of different emotional connections with women like I used to. I used to kind of like that. I like the idea of having 10 different chicks that I'm talking to, and maybe I fuck them once a month or whatever, but I like the idea of just having all of these little connections going. And now I actually feel totally comfortable just only having an emotional connection with one person, and then having this sort of arena that I'm able to go into and be able to fuck in this sort of controlled environment where I don't have to think about any of the shit that people normally have to worry about when they're fucking some random girl for the first time.
Interesting. Typically, when I'm courting somebody, I let them know everything up front. I don't want to lock you in and then, hey, by the way, you know what I'm saying? So, and they usually are like, they don't want me to have an emotional attachment to someone else.
Right.
They're like, well, why don't we hook up with girls? But my thing is, I don't want to wear condoms, so I don't want to be fucking a bunch of girls or making everybody get tested. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'd rather find somebody so we could just, you know what I'm saying, focus on us.
That's the best thing about doing this content is that legally they have to be tested. So once you got a girl on scene, you know that she's good, even though I have got STDs from that exact situation, because sometimes they just be fucking other people before, like right after they get tested and shit. But for the most part, it's like the cleanest environment you could hope for, which is nice.
STDs.
Yeah.
You remember like
STDs.
in the 70s, they didn't even have a name. They just had the clap.
Yeah.
That was it. That's the worst, or get somebody pregnant.
Right.
Now you get shit that don't go away.
Well, they got AIDS.
That too.
Pretty unlikely though, right? And then they got herpes.
So I was reading. It's funny because that should terrify me, because AIDS came when I was a kid, and I'm like, when you're a kid, everything scares you, or at least it scared me. And
I grew up thinking that if I had sex without a condom, I was going to get AIDS and die.
Bro, when I was like 20, I smashed a porn chick, right? And I remember looking down, and some of the condom was rolled up, so I was exposed. I was so fucking scared. Oh
Same.
my God.
When I was 20, I fucked a girl and the condom broke, and I don't even think I nutted in her. I think I just fucked her without a condom. And the next day, I'm texting her freaking out, thinking that I might have AIDS.
Are you sure?
And she's like I'm scaring the fuck out of her, because she's a normal ass chick from Texas, not thinking that there's any possibility that anything like this could happen to her. And then she got me tweaking out. I saw an AIDS commercial on TV, so I'm thinking I might have AIDS. Oh man.
Yo, it's crazy.
A lot.
It's crazy how Magic is healthier than everybody.
Yeah, right. What is going on with him?
It's just, I mean, I feel like it's so much research. It's impossible. You can't tell me, and I like science. I love that shit, right? You can't tell me they haven't figured that shit out by now.
I mean, I think they figured it out. Not to the point of you not being able to get it, but to the point where they can kind of control all the everything around it.
Now you take one pill, you're good forever.
It's just
one pill a day.
Right.
That, and you can't spread it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is interesting. I was reading. I'm like, how does his wife not get it? So for whatever reason, it's very difficult for a woman to get it from a man vaginally.
Because it's mostly spread through blood. That's why gay people get it so much, just because they're fucking each other in the ass.
It's an asshole disease, really.
Yeah.
So when people was like, that's a gay disease, it literally is.
I know. And people got in so much trouble for saying that in the 90s and shit.
Right, but it is. You know what I'm saying?
Because now it almost exclusively is. And some really fucked up shit is that I've read some studies that they've done where they basically go incognito on the gay dating apps, and they try to figure out, because like AIDS is so common in the community that they'll like have it right in their bio, and then there's a whole community of guys who want to have unprotected sex with other guys with AIDS, and so they've done this sort of undercover shit of realizing that a huge percentage of dudes on those services are down and are like out there spreading it. It's crazy.
Does it accelerate the process? Or is it just like, we here, fuck it?
I'm not sure exactly,
That's
but
weird,
but it's also like there's another drug that you can be on that I think makes it almost impossible for you to get it. So that's like a whole part of
shit.
I'm not taking
because
that drug.
It's just sex.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to. If I died having sex, that's whatever. But I don't want to die because I was fucking dirty bitches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what a way to go,
It's
bro.
a scandalous way. Look, I feel like how my grandfather passed away, that's how I want to die. It's an honorable death. He lived a long, successful life, successful marriage. He did so much for all of us, and he passed away peacefully sleeping in his favorite chair at home with my grandmother in the other room. His favorite lady there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how I want to die.
I respect that.
With both of them.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, if I die sliding on my ops, that's one thing. If I die from a dirty bitch,
That's facts.
no thank
Do you
you.
be sliding on your ops?
I don't, but I would like to leave the door open that maybe I could in the future.
You know what's interesting? Something I want to do. I don't want to do, but I would like to do. I'm not aspiring to do this, but if I ever have ops again, whatever, I want to slap him. Have you ever slapped a man?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, I never slapped a person before. I want to slap somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we get the AC on?
I don't know why it's a goal of mine.
Right. No, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the problem is that these days when you have ops, it's like damn near some fucking Middle East shit where all of a sudden like they're not letting you get within 500 feet of them without having the gun on them.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
always
world.
a way. It's always a way. How do you treat people that you don't like
I would say that
when you're around them?
Yeah, there's like the vast majority of the time when I have somebody that I don't like, I just don't talk to them and just basically ignore them because what reason do I, unless I want to be cool with them again at some point in the future, it's kind of like, why do I even have any reason to engage in this at all?
Right.
And then, yeah, I am kind of a pussy sometimes because there'll be somebody around that I don't like and I'll just kind of ignore them, you know? I'll like bring it to their face and confront them.
Yeah, that's not necessary, but I got tactics and look, I'm a nice person. I'm a very loving person, right? But I look at love and hate as the same energy. It's just where is it at on the spectrum? How are you going to articulate that energy? So as great as a guy I am and how loving I can be that much hateful as well. I'm aware of this. So when it's like, when I'm dealing with people I don't like, it's got to be a legitimate reason why I don't like them. It's typically because they fucked me over or someone that I care about, right? Or they're just a person of really fucked up character. Now, what's weird to me is if it's not cool, they know it. Like, I don't hold my tongue.
Right.
I am pro confrontation, right? Not saying a fight. I think that's barbaric.
Right.
But we could talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna know where I stand. But it's weird when they try to shake my hand still. Like they see me. It just happened 2 weeks ago.
Right.
A guy came in. I don't like him. He knows I don't like him. I've called him every kind of name in the book, right? I don't respect him. And he walks in. He comes to my office to see somebody else for something, and I'm in and out. So he is assumed that it's not likely I'd be there at that time, and I was there. I was like, oh, hey. So he tried to shake my hand. So shake my hand. I'm gonna show you what I did.
Oh, with the left. Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
And then what'd you do? Walk him out of the office?
I said, how you doing? I call him a name, like a nice name. So
Right.
yeah, I call him a stay-at-home dad.
Really?
He's a stay-at-home dad.
Specific allegation?
Yeah.
He's going to know that you're talking about him when he sees
I
it?
want him to know. You know what I'm saying? I love that shit. It is what it is, bro. Maybe I need to grow out of this, but I want people who I think are evil to be uncomfortable around me.
Right.
I want them to be uncomfortable.
Well, you see how some people have that kind of energy for their opposition in the sense of like, you know, I've seen people who maybe they fire an employee and then that employee goes to work behind the scenes shitting on them at every fucking possible turn, trying to spread bad information about them or whatever. And I feel like that kind of stuff is sort of standard in Hollywood and entertainment and shit, that's how people will get revenge on each other. It's not like they're going to just walk up to your face and say, hey, I think you're a bitch in the club.
Right.
Nah, they're going to go behind the scenes and every person that they meet, they're going to try to spread some narrative about it. And I've had people try to do it to me where people just hit me up like over and over and over. Like, yeah, that guy said that this, and this about you. I don't know why the fuck he thought that I was a good audience to be saying that about you too.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but again, I'm Hollywood because instead of showing up at the person's door to be like, hey, why are you talking bad about me? I just said, whatever, ignore it.
Nothing wrong with that. That hurts them too. There's so many tactics. There's times when people will make videos about me on YouTube and I'm just like, and they be completely wrong, right? The shit that they're trying to say or allege. And I'm just like, there's no way I would utter this person's name. Because that's what they want.
Right.
I'm not giving them no light. I be praying that I run into them somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to ever go out of my way to do that. But if I do, we're going to have a nice conversation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I would never, I think it's so scummy to sit and make a whole video talking about somebody you don't know and you're wrong, but that's how you're making money. You should thank that person for being interesting enough for you to have something to talk about.
And from a real journalist perspective, you're supposed to reach out to the person that you're writing about. Like even if the New York Times was going to write an article about you, even if the purpose of the article was to say Mike is the biggest piece of shit and he did this, this, and this, it's still considered appropriate and necessary for them to reach out to you and try to get statements about whatever.
So they can spin your words.
That true, right. But like the vast majority of YouTubers are not giving that to the people they're covering.
They're journalists. I hear a lot of people saying that us as journalists. I hear a lot of that nowadays. You know what I mean?
I think there's a lot that most YouTubers are not doing that journalists actually are doing. And we might be able to say like that there aren't many modern journalists who are respectable left,
Right.
but the standard for them publishing information in the New York Times about you is a very different standard than what you can get away with saying on YouTube, where to get a video removed off YouTube, you basically have to be saying something that's like a straight up conspiracy theory or hate speech or something like that. Whereas for the New York Times or the Washington Post to write so-and-so is a bad guy, it has to like kind of clear a bar of that seeming factually accurate.
Right. I don't even try. Like, I remember back in the day when I first started, I'd be like, I was with full screen, and I would ask my rep, yo, how do I get this shit taken down? Or no, back then it was more like people re-uploading my videos, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
And they were like, it's the internet, you know what I'm saying? Once you put it out there, it's out there. He says, they won't get paid on it, but at least it's more people knowing about you.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I get it. But then as time go on, as I became more successful, then it comes with the slander and all of that shit. So I became a target, and plus I'm confident, and people don't like strong, confident people. You know what I'm saying? I think it's weird. I love confident people, strong people. Even when Donald Trump won, I was like, that was some dope ass shit. Like he did that shit.
He was strong and confident in a way.
I mean, I don't care about politics, so none of that shit bothers me.
Right.
But I was like, yo, I really admire his power, his strength.
You know what part of it is that if you're a strong, confident person who's presenting that to the world, there's going to be a significant percentage of people online who are just going to want to poke holes in that.
Yeah.
If you present yourself as being somebody who's flawed, like if you were to say, listen, I used to be a heroin addict, and now look at me, I made it here. There's going to be a lot less people trying to poke holes in your story because you're kind of admitting that you are flawed right there.
Right.
But then when you see somebody come out like Andrew Tate or the Liver King or whoever who are really not giving you anything negative about themselves, they will try to hone in on anything negative that they can say, whether it's you got arrested for this or I don't believe you about this, this, and this, you know?
Yeah, that's what people do. What do you think about what's going on with all the censorship? You know, it's just bizarre to me because let's say Andrew Tate, for instance. I'm like, I get it, right? And he's also, you know, he's using a certain degree of hyperbole to make it more appealing, make it more exciting for people to tap in.
Right.
Okay. I don't see any misogynist rhetoric personally.
I've yet to see it either. I've looked for it, and I'm trying to get people to guide me in that direction, but I don't see a lot.
So if it is, though, is that illegal?
Right.
It's not illegal.
If the worst thing that he can be proven to have done is basically having said like, "Oh, girls are dumb," or like,
but that's
guys should be in control in a relationship, that kind of thing. I mean, okay, I think YouTube should be an open place for people who want to have those kind of opinions.
Misogyny is to show hatred for women.
Right.
He's not doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He seems like he loves women. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but if someone, I hate women. I don't. So I know somebody's going to chop that up.
Right.
I don't. I love women, motherfuckers. But if someone hates women, that's not illegal to hate somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Like, there are things that we all could agree that people should get their YouTube channels taken away for. Like, if you I don't want to live in a world in which anybody who's in the Ku Klux Klan gets to start a YouTube channel and just make vlogs.
I don't mind.
You don't mind? Okay.
I don't mind.
But I do.
But
I respect that YouTube doesn't feel like it's their obligation to have those people on their platform, because otherwise, let's be real, if that stuff was allowed, then you would have massive communities of white supremacists gathering on YouTube to make content.
You really think so?
Oh yeah, because it was like that before they started taking them down.
I don't think they're savvy enough to have all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's camera phone vibes.
But if YouTube was being used for them to mobilize and create this community, then I think that you would be amazed at how much more organized the white power movement would actually be if they were able to use these platforms freely.
All right, I'm gonna give you some pushback. All right, think about it. Like, I think, and I get a lot of heat from my own community because my views are not the standard views on like racism, this, and a third, right? Me and my brother, shout out to Fahim, that's my bro. We were having a conversation, and I was saying, like, and it was on YouTube, and people took this clip and ran with it, but I said, the question was, do I like black people more than white people? I said, this is the clip, do I like black people more than white people? No. I said, I don't like black people or white people. I don't like anybody. I like people I know. And what I meant by that, because nobody wants to know context, right? I don't like anybody arbitrarily because of how they look, or
Right.
dislike anybody arbitrarily because of how they look. I like people if they're cool. You know what I'm saying? It's people in my family I don't like. You feel me? So I like people if they're good people, they're people of character, and that's how I judge people. I can't say that I'm gonna just look out for XYZ just because they look like me. You know what I'm saying? So
I hate how normalized it is to basically just have to be an advocate on behalf of your marginalized group, and that has to become a huge part of your identity and your existence, because I would much rather live in a world in which everybody kind of like went out of their way to not acknowledge their group when they make a statement. Like, I hate when there's a real argument happening about an ethical issue, and then somebody says, well, I'm a black man, so I feel this way.
right.
Your
Yeah.
your
You're clearly
personal status
black.
should not have
Yeah.
anything to do with what's right or wrong in this
Right.
conversation. The fact that I'm white or the fact that you're black, we should be able to have the conversation regardless of that.
Correct. Now, here's the thing now. Now, I don't deny there's a lot of bullshit going on, right? We have a history of institutional racism. It's a fact, right?
Right.
It's deeply embedded in the consciousness of a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? But it's not in a lot of people. You feel me? I have friends across the board, and I don't think that inherently anybody is good or bad. I don't. I don't put all the heat on, they're gonna get mad at this, on white people during times of colonization, because it was black people selling other blacks into slavery. However, they were not aware of the brutal nature of slavery from Africa to here. You know what I'm saying? So I give them a pass on that. However, it was a business. It was an economy, right? And I can't be mad at. See, I'm not one like, yo, y'all owe us. No, I think reparations is a valid conversation that need to be had, a
Right.
real conversation, because it's a lot of shit. Like, I love history, and I dive deep into history. I never subscribe to any fucking concepts or notions that's just put out there in society. I do my own research,
Right.
and it's a lot of egregious shit, right?
Well, think about it. Like, a lot of people who look like us, a lot of black people might say to me, you enslaved us.
Right.
So there's like hundreds and hundreds of years removed from this actual crime that, of course, I'm not trying to disparage this or
Right.
act like this was in any way okay. But the idea that I should be held accountable because of my skin color for something that realistically, not my ancestors, people who, yes, maybe have the same skin tone as me, who lived in this country hundreds of years ago, that realistically I'm not related to in any way. The idea that I should be held accountable, I mean, clearly I should not be held accountable for the sins of my father, right? If my dad murdered 3 people, nobody would be wise to look at me and think that I'm guilty for what my father did.
Right.
And it's just like so many people waste so much time on this kind of thing. And it's like, yes, the remnants of slavery and racism are very real, and racism is very much alive today in many contexts. But a lot of people just waste a lot of fucking energy on trying to like fit themselves into these victim groups that they realistically have almost nothing to do with.
But and also this is further, like, I've done my ancestry, right, on my mother's side. My mother's side of the family is from Georgia. I assumed that it was slavery, and it's not. I went all the way back, right? I haven't done my father's side because they're not from America, so it's harder to trace.
Right.
But I can say, as far as I know, I have no slavery lineage. And I've done extensive research on the matter, on the subject. A lot of black people in this country were not here via the transatlantic slave trade, okay? So indigenous people of what they used to call Turtle Island or America were black. So when we see, like, well, what we consider black, dark-skinned people.
Native Americans, but people that we would have thought basically looked black?
Correct.
Okay.
Most, a good portion of them. Now they had what was called mulatto, and people could look this shit up. Mulatto Indians were like the ones mixed with Spaniards or British, you know what I'm saying? So they were lighter, and some people keep getting washed in the cycle. More whites, more whites, more whites. They're gonna become like straight hair, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of them were black. Now, here's the thing. This is interesting. I'm curious of what you feel about this. One night, we all go out in a group of people at my house afterwards, and there was 2 white girls there, and they were smashed. And when people drunk, they say the real shit, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, y'all are so cool. why do white guys hate you guys so much? I'm like, it's interesting. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you take it back to like slavery days, right? You know, there was weird things that the managers of plantations used to do, right, to black men. They would mutilate our genitalia, shit like that, right? You know, they would make the only thing we were allowed, or black people were allowed, was marriage, right? But they would fuck your wife while you watched, right? So it's like, why this? And then when we were quote unquote emancipated, there was a group of laws that could put us right back in slavery called Black Code. And all of this shit had to do with black men and white women. Do not compliment a white woman. Do not whistle at a white woman. Do not offer to light the cigarette of a white. Weird shit, bro. I'm like, why that? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it was some kind of insecurity. They see us out here, you know what I'm saying, muscular or whatever. And, you know, I felt like it was some form of a inferiority complex, you know what I'm saying? Another thing, like porn. You're in porn industry, kind of, right? You know, I know girls that do porn, and they always say, like, yo, if you do scenes with a black guy, you get knocked down. You don't get paid as much.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that, but then also I feel like that's kind of on the way out. Like, I feel like there's only a tiny percentage of girls that don't shoot with black guys at this point. I feel like the vast majority of the market, that's what they want to see. So I don't know the current status of that stigma, although I understand it's still a thing to some extent.
Right. But things get better, right? So I think humans over time get smarter and become better people. That's why slavery doesn't exist anymore. You know, it was a time that people, I mean, most white people didn't have slaves. People was poor too. And there was a lot of white slaves. You know what I'm saying? People don't know this shit, but the ones that did have slaves and the ones that turned a blind eye to it, eventually they're like, yo, this is not cool. You know
it's so fascinating to think about the fact that America, you know, the one thing that our country had a civil war about was this topic.
Correct.
And that thousands and thousands and thousands of people killed each other for the war, and mostly white people versus white people over the war of ideas. That's such a fascinating concept, you know?
That's the story told to the macro.
Right, and I'm sure it's much, much more
but
complicated.
The story to the micro is a little bit different, right? And it makes sense in that time for those people. So let's say Abraham Lincoln, people always say that he was the great emancipator of black people in this country. Yeah, but it wasn't because he gave a fuck about slavery. And he's written, like, I don't really care if they're slaves or not. I just don't want them motherfuckers down there getting all that free labor. You know what I'm saying? Because a slave don't benefit us in the North. You know what I'm saying? So that it was more of them trying to even the playing field. You know what I'm saying? Because at the time the South was getting so much money, they was trying to like be their own country, right?
But that's an example of how these simplified narratives sort of take hold. Because if we lived back then, if information was not as streamlined as it is now, gay people would be going around saying Barack Obama made it legal for us to get married. And the reality is that the whole early part of his career, he was saying that he didn't believe that gay people should be able to get married. And then once it was politically convenient and the masses seemed to agree with him, then he pushed that shit through. The thing is that we have Twitter, so we know exactly how this played out. Whereas the simplified narrative of like Abraham Lincoln fixed slavery is like there was no communication at that time, so it's kind of easy for that simplified narrative to go.
People to celebrate that, I'm like, fuck that guy, fuck Abraham Lincoln. It's not fuck him. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? What I do respect though is the founding fathers of the Constitution, the way that they wrote the Constitution, the framework of this country was created with enough headspace that at a time when women had no rights, black people, they were animals, whatever, shit, everybody's pretty much on an even playing field. And a fucking person can turn into another gender if they want to. You know what I'm saying? I think it's weird, but I think it's cool that if that's what they want to do, they could do it. You know what I'm saying? How you feel about all of that shit?
Well, I want to say first that the woman getting drunk and saying, oh, I don't know why white guys hate you. I don't know that I've really known any white guys in my life who would have actually said that they hated black people. Like sometimes I feel like through me being so connected to hip hop, even when I was much younger, it was just obvious that was what I was into, that I've really been shielded from a lot of the really blatant racism because people just realized that I wasn't going to be a captive audience to it. It's like when you do coke, people just start offering you coke all the time. They could smell it on you. They know you do coke. So it's like you're in the secret club. Everybody's going to offer you coke.
You in the club?
I used to be.
Okay.
And when I was, people could smell it on me, and I would be at the bar, and they'd say, let's go in the bathroom.
Was that a dope club?
The black or the coke club?
Yeah.
At the time, there was a lot of bonding going on within that club for sure. Like you create like very strong friendships when you're sort of like doing this shit that makes you feel like you're experiencing the most ecstatic, pleasant experience of your life, even though it goes away relatively quickly. Or even if you're with somebody and you're sort of experiencing that decline where your dopamine is crashing down, it's like there's something about that that'll really make you closer to a person. But I'm saying like the racism shit is kind of like that, where if you can tell that somebody's not going to flip out on you for saying something racist, then there's a lot of people that will choose to let it loose, Whereas anybody within their right mind, if they were to have a conversation with you, they're never going to say anything racist. They know I got a million black people I'm associated with, I'm friends with,
Yeah, I'm sure you're in a bubble. And
exactly.
As a white man, you're in a bubble of white men that don't give a fuck about that
and
shit.
I try not to let that like color my impression of how people are on average. But I will say that even just growing up on the East Coast, that even at that time, like my parents from the very beginning were like, everybody's the same. Your race doesn't mean shit about you. You're not better than a Jewish person or a black person. Like my parents were just on that from day one. So I never really would have been able to have any of those kind of views without at least getting a shitload of pushback from my parents.
Yeah. See, we never had those conversations per se. I grew up in Brooklyn, and it's super diverse. So I was in Bed-Stuy at first, and it was just blacks and Puerto Ricans. It was no reason to say, oh, white people are this or that. It was just not talked about. But then I moved to Canarsie, and there's a lot of Jewish people.
Right.
And no one really considered them white. You know what I'm saying?
Because in New York, in Brooklyn, they're a different species altogether because they dress completely different. They talk a different language. Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying? So it really hit me when I moved away for college. I went to Arizona State, right? And as I'm going out there, I'm a very, I've always been the same. I study shit. I research shit, right? I wanted to know what I was getting myself into.
Can you have my food at the door real quick? Sorry. Yeah.
A good Chick-fil-A. I want to know what I was getting myself into. And I'm seeing skinheads tie up a black kid, drag him behind the pickup truck, kill him. I was getting turned up. So
you saw that at college?
No. I read about it before I moved to Arizona.
Oh, shit, okay.
So I'm like, okay, that's where it's at. It's in a predominantly white place, right? So I'm on edge. You know what I'm saying? I'm young. I'm young, aggressive, because I started boxing at a young age. So, and I'm not just that, but we was aggressive growing up. In Brooklyn, New York is overcrowded. It's hard living. It's cold. You got to really fucking claw and fight to get heard or seen or get what you need. You know what I'm saying?
Brooklyn produces the opposite kind of kids that the rest of America produces, honestly, because you got to be so fucking tough to survive in that environment that it just teaches you incredible coping mechanisms.
Correct. It's not like that now.
You don't think anymore?
It's a different place now.
It is a different place now.
But anyway, I grew up during the crime wave, the New York City crime wave. New York was bad, right? But anyway, I'm glad that I made it out of that. But getting out to Arizona, I was like, okay. So if I saw a white dude that looked like you, I would assume you was a skinhead because I didn't know any better. I was ignorant. So I remember sitting by a guy on the bus. He looked like you, but he literally had a Hitler tattoo on his. Wow. I was like, well, that's great. I'm gonna sit right next to him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just staring at him, right? And he's acting like he don't see me staring at him. And then he looks over. He's like, hey, what's up, buddy? I was like, don't say that shit to me. What's up with that shit? I pointed his arm. And he's like, oh, man, that's old. That's old. I said, you a bitch. I'm trying to antagonize him because I want to fight. You know what I'm saying? And I got called nigga twice at school, at college. Neither time did it bother me. It did not hurt my feelings at all. But I had to do what I felt like I had to do. Like, oh, great, here I come. Bap, you know what I'm saying?
So he didn't actually say anything aggressive to you?
Bus didn't say anything.
He was being a pussy, but then, but you didn't fight him?
No.
Okay, this was before.
Yeah,
right.
I got to do something, some kind of aggression.
Right.
But back then, I thought it would be justifiable to sock this dude up for calling me a nigga, you know what I'm saying? Twice, and I did, you know what I mean? Didn't feel no way about it, you know? But as I got older, I'm like, that's fucking stupid, you know what I'm saying? You're going around looking for trouble, for one, right? Racism, first of all, that kind of racism is such low-level shit. poverty mindset state type of people, right? And it typically don't stand up in person, right? Them guys that said it was drunk as fuck. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why are you gonna go outside of your character because somebody called you a name or word? You know what I'm saying? So I decided to divorce myself from that, and that shit don't bother. If a white boy call me nigga, I'm gonna call him a nigga. I'm like, oh, you a nigga. I'm gonna flip it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't bother me. It don't hurt my feelings.
It's weird because growing up, I would go to a lot of punk and hardcore shows, right? And like on the East Coast, we all knew that there are Nazis and there are skinheads, but you would never see them.
Punk a Nazi thing?
It is always had like a Nazi contingent within it, you know. But I would say that the vast majority of punk has always been like very anti-racist, you know.
Right.
If you go to metal, is where you could find a bit more people who are like kind of willingly being racist together, I think. But you know, we always knew that, and there was always like crews and like basically almost gangs of people in the scene of punk and shit that were basically like, if somebody comes to the show and they got a swastika on their shirt, we're gonna beat the dog shit out of them until they're scared to come back. And I've seen it happen many times where somebody would try to come and fuck around, and that was always the mentality. And I can get behind that mentality because realistically, if you're some 18-year-old Jewish girl who just came to see her favorite band and you've got to sit in the corner and look at this guy wearing a swastika on his shirt, and I'm your friend and I fuck with you, and I'm gonna let this guy be in this building and make you feel uncomfortable, then I do think that it's prudent to take some sort of violent action against that person, or that's how I was at the time, at the least.
I'm with that. I'm not against violence. You know, let me not say that. I am against violence. I think that should be the last resort. You know what I'm saying?
I was interviewing this rapper ASM Bopster the other day on here, who's from LA. He's a gang member, and I asked him. I said, "If you see a skinhead, do you feel like you got to fade him?" And he was basically like, "Nah." And this is a dude who realistically, like, his neighborhood has been at war with other neighborhoods in LA for years and years, black dudes killing each other. And for some reason, the dude who basically his entire ideological system is based on the idea that you are inferior to him, that he does not seem worthy of a fade. And I feel like that's kind of very, very telling about what the gang shit has turned into, as opposed to in a prior era, gang banging might have been we beat up Nazis and that's it.
Maybe he's been to the joint. I've been to the joint. It's very racial.
Yes, he
However,
for sure is,
nobody's tripping on each other unless it's an issue. You know what I'm saying? So we all coexist.
Yeah.
As long as there's no issue, it's all good. Matter of fact, I was in LA, and I had to be moved to Arizona, and they were trying to invoke the politics. I'm like, no thanks. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I just came from LA, bro. This is not politics. And so my cellie was a white dude, and that night I got there, we just talked. He was a cool ass dude. So in the morning, he had a meeting. The Woods had a meeting, and he like, hey, bro, I'm gonna just let you know that anything pop off, they're gonna jump you. I said, cool, thank you. It didn't bother me. I'm like, I'm just, please jump me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just always down for like, I'm a person that rides to the occasion. I need a formidable opposition to be great. You feel me? So I'm like, I'm not worried about that shit at all. So never any drama. The first Friday there, we getting a spread made. So a spread, for those who don't know, it's like, you know, it's commissary day, store day. I was like jail rich, so I had all the items. So they would come to me. Each races would just feed their own people. You can't feed the other race. So I gave the dude the ingredients, and then he was like, how many you want? I said, bring me 2 and bring him 2, the white boy. And he was like, okay. And he did it. It was fine. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't the spokesperson in my dorm, but they all treated me like that because I was level-headed. They perceived me as a formidable guy, right? So, but I wasn't on no dumb shit. I treated people with respect. I didn't bother nobody. I wasn't in no shit. You know what I'm saying? And when there was about to be like little silly wars over dumb shit, I would mitigate it. I was like, you really want to fight because he called you a bitch, but you were cheating in chess. Like, you know what I'm saying? And dudes would really, bro, it was sad because dudes would really be like, damn, I didn't even think about that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's sad. Jail is so sad because you see people who nobody gives a fuck about.
Right.
You feel me? Like, I'm in there with dudes whose, when they're getting arrested, their wives change the phone number. You know what I'm saying? Like,
as soon as they get arrested?
People are relieved that they're gone. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So I'm like, yo, this shit crazy, bro. But listen, there's a huge part of the population. I'm sure you can see this on social media that are just not. They don't even try to think. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting.
A lot of people get locked up before they are even at the point where they're able to have a logical thought process about what they want to be doing with their lives, which is the really sad shit. Like when you see the dude who killed Pop Smoke, and it's just this like teenage kid. And it's like, on one hand, you want to look at him like, oh, you are a terrible person. You're the worst person who's ever lived. You did something unspeakable. Think about how many people you fucking hurt with this one selfish, dumb, crash out action. And then on the other hand, it's like, you were a fucking kid. And what were your influences that made you think this was normal?
How do you ultimately feel about that? Something like that. How a child can do something like that.
I mean, I think it's the kind of situation where it's easy to look at a 40-year-old guy who's a serial killer and just not feel any empathy for him. But I mean, when you look at this young kid, you got to be like, I mean, his brain a couple years before this was that of a pure child. And yes, he's like maybe on the transformation to being a man. But it's you can't just look at him as an evil figure. You have to look at him as somebody who's been seriously impacted by the community that he grew up in, and will probably never know who put him up to it or who helped him get into this position or who made him think that this was normalized or whatever. And I mean, we could have the same conversation about the dude who killed P&B Rock, who his dad apparently was the driver, and infinite different situations that don't involve famous people. But
I struggle. I sit and thought on a lot of these things, man, over the years, and my mindset always, I try to elevate, and it changes as I grow. I travel the world. I deal with more people, and I have more context to life in general. You know what I'm saying? The first time I left the country, my mindset was like, man, fuck America. You know what I'm saying? But as I got, spend time in other countries, I'm like, yo, I want to go back home.
Yeah, we got it pretty fucking good. A lot of these countries are way worse than here. Yeah.
Right. So then when you go to like, you break down certain communities and how people come up and they're raised, I'm like, I don't care. I care, but I don't care. And what I mean by that is, yeah, I wish that everything was better. However, I understand life, right? And if you look at every creature on this fucking planet, every creature, it has an innate desire to like be comfortable, to mate, reproduce, pass its genes on, and have a place to sleep, shit, piss, fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's the ultimate thing, right? So, but we're the weird ones, humans, right? Because animals, they just get their little fucking routine and that's it. They sleep all day. They're not thinking about kill a bunch of deer and save it. You know what I'm saying? They just kill what they need for that day and chill and sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Until someone trip up, kill a little baby, whatever. Once we get comfortable, we want more. You know what I'm saying? And it never stops. That's why I always tell people like, yo, God is your money. I think for most people, God is their money because there's nothing a human won't do for the right amount of money.
Right.
You feel me?
Let me ask you this. What were the things that you grew up thinking were normal that you now look at and think are abhorrent? Or is there anything like that? Because a lot of these young kids who grew up in gangs, literally from the time that they're becoming cognizant of the world around them, they might be being taught, oh, there's this group of guys and they wear this color and they're 4 or 5 blocks away. And if you kill one of them, then you will be a hero to our neighborhood.
Yeah. Look, I seen that. That was normal. My life was different though. My mother was married to like one of the biggest drug dealers in New York. So I was a rich kid in the beginning, right? So I was accustomed to like knowing this, oh, so-and-so just got murked. They just killed him, whatever. So I learned early that life is cheap. You know what I'm saying?
Because I never heard a sentence like that growing up. And that really colors what you think is possible or acceptable, you know?
Think about being I remember me and my grandmother on the train. And, you would see a dude standing by the door, old lady sitting right there. As soon as the door open, he snatched her chain. You see, my grandmother's gotten mugged. You know what I'm saying? So this shit was normal. Like, you learn fast. Well, I learned that, fuck people up so you don't get fucked up. Don't be a victim. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I went down to Florida to visit family, and I hated it because they live in a hood. They live in not just the hood, but the deep south, Sanford. That's where Trayvon Martin got killed. You feel me? So that place shouldn't even be there. You know what I'm saying? So there, in the projects where my fam was at, motherfuckers got killed every day. And people you know. And then the dude that killed your big homie is walking around free. You know what I'm saying? So it was a big business on insurance. Like there was in the hood every day a white dude in a pickup truck. I don't know why the insurance guys drove pickup trucks, but they always went there doing policies with mothers because the kids die so often. It's egregious and it's horrifying thinking about it now. But back then it was just, that's normal. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So, however, I was exposed to really good education. I was in private school, right? And, you know, I was a bit of an intellectual growing up. I was always a valedictorian, honor school, honor student. I played piano, saxophone. So my mind was more broad, right? So I understood that life is cheap, but I also understood that prison sucks. You know what I'm saying? Because my father was in prison at the early part of my life, right? So we used to go and see him. And I'm like, damn, he can't go nowhere. He can't do this. Can you go in the refrigerator? Like, we would ask him all these questions, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, fuck that shit. You know what I mean? So, you know, and I had my fair share of bad decisions growing up, like over the years. But for some reason, I would never go but so far. Or there was something protecting me from doing too much.
Right.
You feel me? But I was always an authentic person. So when I was in the streets, I was in the streets. I was making money, and I was very violent. You know what I'm saying? Cause I'm that guy. I had an army at one point, right? Goons, like real soup tasters, right? And I would still hop out on the front line. You know what I'm saying? Because I got to show them. I used to think like, what's stopping them from doing something to me? You know what I'm saying? So I had to show them that I'm crazy as them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's how that shit gets established ultimately. You know, when you
100%.
hear about there being like power vacuums and countries where the government has been killed and taken over and stuff, and you just realize that in lieu of law and order, the biggest, baddest motherfucker who's down to kill at the quickest pace is the one who gets to be in charge, you know?
Listen, bro. We have like our country, I mean, we're the kings of this world, United States, right? We're the most violent.
Yeah.
I feel no qualms about that.
We have the biggest army.
I feel no qualms about that. Make it bigger. You
Yeah.
feel me? This is what this world is built on. Like society and civilization is built on violence, extreme violence, people getting wiped out. It's not nice, but it's necessary because money is God. And people will do anything for certain amount. Anybody would do anything for the right amount of money. Facts.
Yeah. I mean, that shit's scary.
And you can justify it, bro. It's for my kids. It's for my grandkids.
Right.
That makes it noble.
That's why it's so hard to get the government to slow down on defense spending.
It's not.
Because ultimately,
why?
And same thing with cops. When you look at what percentage of average city's budget is spent on cops, is because ultimately it's almost impossible to tell. No, we need less protection for our people. That's why the Defund the Police shit was so crazy, because it was like the first time in our history that we ever heard somebody saying like, we just don't need these guys at all.
Right. How do you feel about that?
I think it's fucking insane. And I think the fact that this slogan, which was basically thought up by a bunch of far left extremists, was presented as if it was the opinion of mainstream normal black people in America is the craziest shit.
We didn't even come up with it.
When you look at the actual polling on how black people feel about the conversation, like the question, should there be less police in your area? By and large, almost everybody says no, they don't want that, because the police are, you know, and not when we say policing, the policing doesn't need to mean, oh, there's cops barging in your fucking door. But sometimes when I go to these like projects in LA that are like the most famous gang hoods in LA, and they got cameras on every fucking street light, and sometimes dudes will even tell me like, shit used to be crazy as fuck around here, but now the cameras, or they got this, or they got, you know, everybody snitching, yada yada. Now the crime just don't happen like it used to. I mean, that's intelligent policing. That doesn't. Nobody's supporting like, you know, every black guy getting their car pulled over every time they want to drive to work. Clearly, there are excesses that are being done, but I think the average black person probably realizes that the police are the thing keeping them from getting their house robbed more often, or whatever the case may be. You know.
Yeah, I'm all about personal sovereignty. I'm all about real freedom. And if you look at like back in the day in America, there was no cops, right?
Right.
I mean, people don't know this, but police started as a means to police black people, black men, freed slaves. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
So yeah, it's a fact. If you look at, anybody can Google this shit, like police badge, and slave patrol. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? They should change the shit. You know what I mean? But it's literally the same little star. You know what I mean? Back then it said slave patrol. Now it says police. There wasn't. You did Bounty Tank. It was just people like him back then that you pay a bounty. He go and gather a criminal, dead or alive, whatever. He get paid and that's it.
That really is interesting. I'm sure that like early origins of what police were is really fascinating. Yeah.
People would protect their own land, their own shit. They pop somebody. It's stupid now because here, look, I had a big case back in the day.
Right.
Because someone broke in my house and I defended my home. You know what I'm saying? It ain't that easy. It ain't that simple. And in California, it's even worse.
You caught a body?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And you just beat it on self-defense right away?
Not right away.
How long did it take?
About 8 years.
8 years sitting in jail?
No, I went on the run. I didn't sit in jail.
And then how long were you locked up before you went to trial?
Oh, no. So initially it happened. I bond out. And then over time they dropped it without prejudice, meaning they could bring it back. Then I catch another case. I mean, I was in the streets, right? Never got in trouble for anything, though.
But the situation where this happened wasn't some you being in the street shit. That was like a home invasion?
Yeah.
Wow.
So make a long story short, and the guy was like a lifetime criminal. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, about a year later, an incident happened, right, where somebody tried to jump me drunk. You know what I'm saying? I knocked one out, the other one run. I get in my whip, and the security try to grab me, open my car door, and I have my strap, and it's legal, you know what I'm saying? No prior, I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here, whatever, you know what I'm saying? He back off, we leave, we just go down the street to another bar. I ain't think nothing of it, it's a fight. And we see fucking ambulance and all over the top shit, and the dude just bust his head open, who I punched. The guys, when they were taking the police report, you know, you get the discoveries, read all this shit. And he was like, look, I don't want to press charges. I shouldn't have been bothering him. You know what I'm saying? And the other guy, you don't have the right to open somebody's car door. However, they said, fuck all of that. And they charged me with ag assault, deadly weapon, right? So they were like, oh, we got him now. So they bring back the other charge and that one. So then they got me because on paper, it looks horrible, as bad as it gets.
Right.
So they rearrest me. It was over the top, like I'm fucking El Chapo in the middle of the street, unmarked cars, shotguns. I'm like, this is unnecessary, whatever. So they arrest me. I bond out again for that. It was a lot higher that time. And, you know, I had a plan. Like, I'm gonna fight it. I'm gonna try to fight it. But, you know, me being ignorant of the system, like, I paid my retainer for my attorney, but I had to fight a charge, not a charge, but they put me in a gang unit, right? Which enhances anything that happens by 10 years, right? So if you did a crime that's a 4-year sentence,
right,
but you're classified as a gang member, it's 14 years.
No, Draco the Ruler and his brother Ralphie, they got hit with like the gang enhancement on stuff. Like Ralphie apparently like used a stolen credit card to do some purchases at the mall. And they said, like, oh, you're part of a gang, even though really the gang that he's part of is like a rap group.
Right.
And then they use that to try to throw him away.
So this is what they did. So now most people don't even know you could fight that shit, right?
Right.
First of all, most people tell them that, yeah, I mean, they'd be like, where you from? I'm like, I'm from so-and-so. I'm like, I'm not anything, sir. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nothing. And I had a crew who was rap shit, whatever, and it's not a gang. So I had a whole trial for that alone. They had to prove that I'm in a gang, that I'm a gang leader or whatever.
So you had to sit down for a long ass time to go through all this shit?
I'm out.
Oh, you were out during it, okay.
So they couldn't, it was silly. It actually was eye-opening because that was my first time in a criminal anything, right? I had a civil case before, but that was nothing.
You're probably spending a ton of money on lawyers.
I'll tell you. So I had like money, I had enough money for a $50,000 attorney back then, right? Which was a lot for me. But that ain't shit for these big cases. You know what I'm saying?
If you really want to beat that shit.
Right. So at 50 grand, you get a really solid lawyer. But he ain't got no connections. You know what I'm saying? He don't know the tricks. They're not really afraid of him. Right. So we beat that. And I was shocked at the gang detective knew nothing about gangs or street life. I was like, how the fuck is he the gang detective? My lawyer beat him up. That he knocked that out the park, right? So I get a call like, all right, so I need another 15 grand. I'm like, for what? I paid you. I didn't understand the retainer. Every time he talked to me, he's charging me.
Right.
That money's getting eaten out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. So I'm free, but I had an ankle bracelet on. So my business that I was partaking in at the time, I put somebody else in charge to run it back, whatever, just bring me my cut. So, bro, all this pressure was on me. Like, I'm nervous, right? Because I'm like, fuck, prison. And I'm talking to all my homies that's been, like, what is it like? Like, obsessing about it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, fuck, okay. Just getting all this information in my head. I'm dreaming about it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm having to get back active because the guy I put to run shit, he's not doing it right. So I had to get back active, and then the people I was sending the product to on the East Coast was playing me. So typically, like I had one address that I had a 2-3 year run, no problems. All of a sudden, it's just phone books. You know what I'm saying? Because sometime in the FedEx, UPS, them guys know what's up. So they feel something like, oh, okay. They stick something through the box and pull it out to see what's on it. So if they see, you know what I'm saying, the right thing, they'll kindly take it out, take out the contents, put something heavy in it, and deliver it to the address. And they came up, you know what I'm saying? So it's never happened to me. I know about that happening, but all of a sudden it happens. I'm like, damn. So I'm like, fuck, I need this money. So send another package. Same thing. I'm like, this motherfucker playing me. So I had to do some shit. I did some really stupid shit. I'll tell you about that later. But I needed to like prove a point. You know what I'm saying? So then I'm like getting like, fuck, I'm running out of money. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to lose my house, lost my girl. Like shit is just collapsing. And then I get arrested again for something stupid. So I have my ankle bracelet on. So they were like, so it was like some misdemeanor shit, but still I ain't supposed to have no police contact. So the bond was like $1,000, right? So I'm like, yeah, I'll post bond. And the judge was like, well, you can post, but I don't know if you're gonna get out. You know what I'm saying? Because, your situation. So I'm like, I do it anyway. I take my chances. So at this point, I had been arrested before many times, but never, I bond out, I'm out of there. I never even changed clothes, right? So this time, it's taking longer. It take about 10, 12 hours to get out, right? So I'm getting moved through every little part. This in Arizona, Maricopa County, it's a horseshoe. I don't know if you know, but Maricopa County, Dade County, and LA County are the 3 worst jails in this country. You know what I'm saying? Like, the conditions fucking suck.
Right.
So the horseshoe, you got to go all the way around. You see the judge, and after that, you still there, then they move you to your crib where you're going to be at. So I keep getting moved. I'm like, I'm getting anxious. And they change me out. I'm like, fuck, I never had this shit on. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm in this little tiny 2-man cell before I get housed, right? And it was a dude, I didn't know him, but he knew me through my people for the street. He was cool. So he was like being cool and shit. I'm like, yo, bro, I can't talk to you right now, bro. Like, stop talking to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, my brain was going into a dark place. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, why the fuck is he happy? You know what I'm saying? Like, when you see people in jail smiling, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm in the streets, bro, and I'm a person with a heart that's down to do whatever. However, I still had like a clean life growing up. You know what I'm saying? I had morals and, you know what I'm saying? I just was in a weird spot at the time. You know what I mean? So my mind went to this. All right, they take me in there. Anybody that say anything to me, I'm knocking out. For no reason. I don't give a fuck. There's no logic to it. It's the stupidest shit ever. But that's I've reverted to primitive fucking behavior.
Right.
So I'm sitting there like fucking hot, bro. Because I'm thinking like, I'm going to sit in here until trial and I'm going to fight trial and I'm running out of money. So I'm not going to have a lawyer after a while. I'm not going to see my kids because the plea was 10 years. I'm like, fuck that. The plea is 10, but the presumptive was 14. You know what I'm saying? If I blew trial. Why are they doing this to a first-time offender? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, man, at the last moment, King, roll up. Now I'm happy. I'm like, hey, bro, stay in touch. You know what I'm saying? I'm out of there. So I was on pre-trial, right? So pre-trial is where the court give you an ankle bracelet.
Right.
Not the bail bondsman. So My pre-trial, like she's like kind of like officer. She liked me. She was mad cool. So she was like, she called me like that Monday because it was over the weekend. And said, I need you to come in. I heard what happened. I need you to come in. And I'm like, what's up? She said, I'm not gonna arrest you. I just gotta give you another bracelet. I'm like, she said, trust me. And I decided to trust her. You know what I'm saying? Because look, I've been, like I said, I've done all kind of grimy shit to make money. No, things that were outside of the scope of the law to make money.
Right.
But I never did foul shit to nobody. And I'm always been a man of my word and of character. So if somebody give me their word, I believe it. And she said, trust me. So I trusted her. So I went down there and she didn't arrest me. She gave me another ankle bracelet. Like, man, I don't know what's gonna, I had court like that Friday or Thursday. I don't know what's gonna happen in court. The prosecutor's gonna know. So I'm just letting you know. Say less. So I had a contingency plan in place because my plan was to go to trial. And if it wasn't looking good before the last couple of days, I'm out of here.
Right.
But that got pushed up. For one, I didn't have enough money to fight it without taking some stupid chances and getting caught. And for two, I'm not gonna sit in jail for trial. You know what I'm saying? Because it's impossible to really properly fight your case or get your affairs in order before you gotta sit still.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I said, I'm out of here. So I had this girl from here meet me in AZ, had all my shit ready to go. Here we go, his car's running. Hopped in the car, never looked back.
Right.
So I was gone for like 7 years, you know what I'm saying?
And was life tough, having to be real secretive and low key?
No.
You didn't have to be all that low key?
No, I was in the beginning because they look for you for about a month.
Right.
And just they're at your people's cribs and sitting out there and shit like that. Then they go away.
And this is what year?
2009.
So it's very early social media. It's not like now where everybody
It's just
lives on
Facebook
social
at the
media.
time.
Yeah.
It was Facebook. So I had a Facebook account that I had like a silly name that I made
Right.
up just for my family to keep in touch. Mm-hmm. And then Instagram came. Then I had to get a job, like, because I wasn't gonna hustle because when people want to run, they get caught fast. You know what I'm saying? Because they're doing other crimes.
Because they have to do illegal shit.
Right. So I'm like, and look, I was a criminal, but I was smart. So I researched the fuck out of everything to see what I could do. How could I move? Can I fly? Whatever. So, and I was flying. I was doing all kind of shit because.
You got a fake ID?
Nah, no, fuck no. That's a 10-year sentence right there. I'm gonna get caught at some point. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is like try to make a bunch of fucking money.
Having a fake ID is a 10-year sentence when you're on the run?
No, period. Identity theft is a 10-year sentence.
These days, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back then, because I researched the shit.
Right.
So anyway, so for what I was charged with, manslaughter, it's not murder. So murder, rape, and shit with children is the highest. So they're looking for you anywhere, right? Everything else, they're not. It's just if you do something stupid and get caught or somebody tell, right? So I was able to travel because there's no connection from TSA and cops, right? I mean, I was even out the country, bro. You know what I'm saying? That shit was scary at first because I went to Dubai and they scan your eyes. And in jail, they scan your eyes.
Right.
I was like, fuck.
Do you think this would be harder to get away with now? The traveling and stuff? When you go on the airplane, it feels like they're going to figure it out if you're on a database.
I don't.
Wow.
I mean, listen, I don't think people should be going on a run.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if a person got a little bit of intellect with them, they can. Bro, I could have never got caught, but I was on social media. By accident, it started blowing up. You know what I'm saying?
So you got caught because you started getting views on YouTube?
Bro, first of all, I started social media, just family, and then Instagram. I'm like, damn, this shit cool. And I was working as a personal trainer.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, this was so demeaning, getting paid like $3,000 a month when I was used to getting 30, 40 a week. You know what I'm saying? So, but I did what I had to do. So I'm working as a trainer. So I would put my clients' little progress on my IG and talking about the workout because whatever I'm into, I'm all in. And I only do things I really like doing.
Right.
So people seeing how much I cared about it and the results was fucking sick. And it was helping me get more business, social media. So every now and then I put me doing a lift or doing something crazy up there and shit, and people was just loving that shit, and the shit started going viral. And then I started getting like a fucking just a fan base of cops, cops and military dudes. You know what I'm saying? And because they're fucking
They like workout shit.
If I wasn't like the typical black dude that's in crime and doing thug shit, would be a cop if he was in a good upbringing, you know what I'm saying, or in the military, you know what I'm saying? So, because just like, think about street life and military life, right? It's people that just need somebody to guide them and give them direction, and that's what both sides are going for. And they're really doing the same type of shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, military, like, it ain't no different. A motherfucker growing up in the hood is just like a person going through the military. The stakes is high stressful. You're dealing with multiple high stress events and elements. You're managing yourself and being cool in hot situations. You might have to take lives. You see your friends' lives die. You know what I'm saying? You a soldier. You feel me? So it's really the same. It's just one's considered legal and one's not. Killing legally, killing illegally. You know what I'm saying? So it's really the same, honestly. Doctors and drug dealers, all the same. You're selling drugs, you know what I'm saying? And the shit I used to sell is legal now, you know what I'm saying? So it's so weird.
Well, if you're a doctor, you're at least hoping that the drugs that you're selling people are going to help them. Whereas if you're a drug dealer, you kind of know from the get-go, like, you are permanently damaging these people's bodies and minds.
You think so? You think drugs damage people's bodies?
If you're selling meth, yeah, you know what you're doing.
Meth, all right.
Yeah, you know, but and then you're selling weed. It's like whatever. Nobody's gonna really feel bad about that. You're selling coke. It's like we all know people who do coke and keep it pretty manageable, and it's just a party drug. And then we know people who coke have completely ruined their life.
Drugs,
if I was selling coke, I would be thinking about it 24/7.
Drugs don't kill people. You know, drug addiction is nuance, right? Now, I'm very interested in drugs. It's fascinating to me, right? And I like drugs, like psychedelic drugs, right? I never touched anything until 2 years ago, though.
Really?
Yeah. So even alcohol, never fucked with nothing. I was an athlete, and then I was selling drugs, so I'm like, I'm not gonna do my shit. So, but
great advice for drug dealers is don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
That's probably the best way you could not get caught. Yeah,
especially marijuana, because you ain't gonna be on point. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I done extensive research in a lot of this shit, and then me having a big YouTube channel, you know, I had access to a lot of people. And are you familiar with Hamilton Morris?
It sounds super familiar.
Dope. He's fucking dope. He has a show on Vice.
Yes,
but he's kind of stopped just to do chemistry.
Right.
But he knows a lot. We podcasted and became cool, and we talked a lot. So I picked his brain about a lot. I've done a lot of research, and he was breaking down to me like how, like, say the crack epidemic or opiate epidemic. He says it's not an epidemic. It's bad in certain areas. You know what I'm saying? He's speaking of opiates. He said 90-something% of people that do opiates are not addicted to it. You know what I'm saying? He said, you probably did it. I said, I've never done opiates.
A fuckload, yeah.
He says, morphine? I said, yeah, in the hospital. He said, that's heroin. I was like, what?
Yeah, but you're doing it in a very controlled arena.
And it was incredible.
You know?
It felt great.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, can I get one more heroin? Just one more? But, you know, he talked about how most people that do drugs is fine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's where, like, I guess in the Bible Belt where it's not a lot of jobs, automobile industry left, people ain't got no work, no social status, life sucks. The best thing you have is that drug. That made sense to me, especially like the first time I did LSD, like around that time. I'm like, this shit, I was like mad at the government, like, why would they call this a Schedule 1? It's so fucking ridiculous, right? But outside of that, I remember like the next day.
Your trip was great?
It was great. I'm a grown man though, once I did it, you know what I'm saying? I didn't do it as a kid, you know? And I understood it, and I understood, okay, if I'm uncomfortable, this is what's happening. You know
so
what
a lot of times when you talk to people who their first acid trip story is like, oh, I took 5 tabs, or I took it every day for a fucking week, or some shit like that. That's like, oh my God, like how could you possibly have a good experience?
Here's the thing. The worst thing that happened to them is they'd be uncomfortable and maybe do dumb shit and hurt themselves, but it doesn't hurt your body.
Right.
You can't overdose on that shit.
Well, but there's a lot of people who've had really bad acid trips. Like, I remember Richard Dawkins, who's somebody I really respect intellectually at one point, and he's like damn near 80 years old, I think. He went out and talked to all of the professors that he knew who knew the most about acid to try to make the decision of if it was a good idea for him to do it given his age and just to see what it was like. And he ultimately decided that it was too much of a risk and he didn't want to do it, which I can understand as a guy who's like in his 70s for sure. I think if you're in your early 20s, it's probably worth a shot.
When I'm in my 70s, I'm gonna run it up. I'm gonna be on all the steroids, take all the drugs, because I'm about to die. So let me see what it's like. Let me just go hard. But I'm a go hard person anyway. You know what I'm
I
saying?
used to work out at this personal training gym in Beverly Hills, and I would see guys who are probably like 65, 70 years old on straight testosterone, like weird. Your muscles do strange things when you're not actually that strong, and you're on mad tests, and your veins look crazy and shit. And I'll be looking at them like, I mean, honestly, you could die any fucking day now. So if this is making you happy, go right the fuck ahead.
That's facts. But it's interesting though. You see young guys who ain't strong just do a bunch of fucking juice, and it's weird. I don't want to look strong.
Right.
I want to be strong as fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm usually the smallest guy, the strongest guy.
Right.
I really I want to be strong. For me, it's an addiction, like feeling that heavy shit, knowing I just handle that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Once you get into that feeling, it's a great feeling. My problem throughout my life has always been that I'll have these long stretches where I'm being positive. I'm loving the feeling of lifting and eating good and sacrifice and discipline and not minding being hungry for an hour while you wait to get that next healthy meal and whatever. And then I just inevitably sort of lapse into these periods of time where I'm just being, and it's never nothing. I'll always keep working out or I'll keep eating okay, but then I start to snack or I'll order a fucking burger for lunch instead of a salad and all this shit. Right. And it just, like, the thing I've realized with myself though is that it's about the structures that I set up in my life surrounding this. Like the fact that I have a personal trainer who comes and meets up with me every day at 8 a.m. It's like, I'm just not gonna turn my back on that relationship that we have. I show up and I fucking do it even when I don't want to. And he's on vacation right now for 2 weeks and I'm fucking up. I'm still working out, but not as consistently as I would be if he was here.
Here's the thing, bro. It's like, do this. Put a piece of paper and write the word discipline and tape it on your bathroom window, a mirror. You know what I'm saying? Do little shit like I used to do anything that can help me stay on point. You know what I'm saying? Even my merch would say like, don't be a pussy. Cause I gotta look at that shit in the mirror. Like, don't fucking be a pussy. Like, I say these things like alpha as fuck. Yeah, I'm that motherfucker. Go handle that shit. It's like this idea of this fucking awesome man in my head. I do everything to be that, to stay that. Cause you could become it and then fall off. I do everything to stay on that shit. You know what I'm saying? To where my kids love me and they're proud of me, my girl, my friends. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really like motivated by being respected and being treated a certain way.
My problem is that it's easy for me to get into the mind state of losing weight and getting in good shape when there's pain there. And from throughout my life, I've found that when I get to that like 250, 260 area, that's when I really start to look in the mirror and be like, this has gone too far. You got to get in shape. And then I inevitably will just lose like 20 pounds, get down to like an amount that I'm happy with. And then at some point, there's not enough pain there. And I just start to like look in the mirror and I feel fine. And I think, okay, I can slip.
You're a cool looking dude. You're an interesting looking character, right?
I get away with being fat too. Yeah. I don't like look super fat even if I am fat. This is part of the problem.
Oh, yeah, that could be an issue for a lot of people. Like,
a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? You're not fat. And I show them my gut. They're like, okay. Yeah.
Right. But you start getting your body like more streamlined. Get to that point, Adam. Do that one time, you're locked in, bro. You're fucking locked in. You feel me? Like, cause me, I've always been in good shape, like muscle, but I never gave a fuck about how I ate. You know what I'm saying?
And as you got older, I'm sure you had to figure that out.
Well, the first time when I was in Cali and around people like bodybuilders and shit, I just tried a real clean diet. In like 2 weeks, I had abs and everything. I loved it. And that became my life now. You know what I'm saying? When you see yourself in such a light, you're like, fuck. Because, bro, it changes everything. It changes a lot. You know what I'm saying? Look, a dude being in shape, first of all, there's not one thing that is the thing. Like, just having money ain't shit. Just being in shape ain't shit. But these things make you, it just increases your stature so much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So even if it's only one, if you can only do one, at least do one. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And us being in shape, us controlling our physicality, something that's in our control. So a lot of things we can't control, but that's something we can control.
Because like running a business, $1 million a year business, whatever, and being able to handle that responsibility and control that, to find a hole in the market and fill it, That's very challenging. But at a certain, like, it's going to take you a while in your life. If you're 18, chances are that you're just not going to be able to start a business that's that successful right now at this point in your life. But what you can do is have control over the stuff that you can control in your life, which is like what you put into your mouth and what you do in the gym, you know?
Right.
So even if you're like starting out in life, that's the thing that you could do. The guys in the club, they have money. You can't do that yet. They have fucking nice ass clothes. You can't do that yet. They got jewelry. You can't do that yet. But you can be in good shape. That's something you can control. You
If
know?
you could do all of that shit, run it up.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
We really have to get to the point of how you got caught in this whole thing. We left that story behind.
I mean, simple. I mean, I'm everywhere, right? It's funny because, like, when I stopped being a trainer, because I started my online shit and YouTube money and everything else, I would still train people once in a blue, just a one-off session. But I charge like $2,500 just for the experience, and I feature that video on my YouTube channel or whatever, and they loved it. So a lot of guys that would come in for them one-off sessions were cops or military, because that's my demo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I fuck with them. I respect cops, bro. Like, that's an honorable position to have, right? But with that honorable position, I expect a lot out of these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah. So I was like, yo, maybe they just don't give a fuck. I don't know, right? Because every day. Now I'm gonna tell you this. Now one day went by that I didn't think about getting caught.
Right.
That sucked. So I had a dark cloud over my head forever. You know what I'm saying? And there was times, bro, it was one time, like, I would envision, like, I had an apartment in San Pedro. I would envision me getting off the elevator, walking around, and then boom, turn a corner and seeing the cops at my door. One time it happened. Wrong door.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens is, as time's going on, I'm fucking enjoying life. I'm having fun. I've rebuilt this incredible life. I got incredible friends. People from my past I didn't fuck with no more. They were all losers anyway. Like, it's funny because when I was with them, around them, everybody was up. You know what I'm saying? Here I'm gone all of these years. The motherfuckers were trash, and they shitted on me when I was on the run. They loved it because people hate. They love to see a strong person down.
Right.
It's like, see, yeah, I could do this. I could. You know what I'm saying?
You're lucky that somebody from your old life didn't turn you in.
Nobody knew, but
Even
they knew
on
after
YouTube.
a while. They knew after a while. But yeah, you're right. But here's the thing. What I did was, like, very few people involved. Now, I had a crew and we partied, we went out and shit, but nobody knew my business like that. You know what I'm saying? And somebody from my past did give a lot of information on me. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. Now, when they came and got me, I'm a boxer too, but I stopped boxing for a long time, but I was still trained. And guys, me and some of my friends would spar at my gym that I used to work at, right? Or train at. So I had just bought my dog. He was a little puppy. Me and my boy in there sparring, going at it. We take a break. I take the dog outside to take a piss, and a black dude walk in the gym, and it was out of place because the gym is in north side of Long Beach, so there's a very specific crowd of people in there. It's gangbangers or cops, or bodybuilders or powerlifters. Everybody got to fit in that category, right? So this dude was a normal black dude, and it was weird. And I was like, and I cordial. I speak to everybody, like, hey, how you doing, man? And he was looking nervous. He like didn't say nothing, but kind of like nodded his head. And I was like, that was weird. So I'm sitting out there, you know what I'm saying?
And you could tell he wasn't a cop?
I didn't know, I couldn't tell, but I could tell it was a weird.
I'm guessing
weird.
he is a cop.
I don't think he was a cop. I think he was an informant.
Okay.
Just to identify me. So to let them know, like, yep. So I seen a sheriff's car, unmarked car, sheriff's car, then more unmarked cars. I was like, bro, I wasn't like scared. I was kind of relieved. I was like, fuck, this is it. This is it. You know what I'm saying? So the marshals, U.S. Marshals come hard, but they were gentlemen. You know what I mean? You gotta think, at a certain point, they found me, and they just watching me and tracking me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and then when they was trying to get me, they was like a day or two behind me. So they was on me for like 2 weeks at this point. And it took them 2 weeks to just get me because I was moving around a lot. Not trying to be evasive, but just happened to be busy. You know what I'm saying? So he came and got me. He said, what's your name? I was like, you tell me. He was like, I ain't saying shit. So he said, I know you are. He says, we got to do this. He said, look, man, So maybe he was a fan, but I love this guy. But he was like, look, man, I hate to do this, but you know, he said, you're a good guy. You do a lot of good for a lot of people, and let's just get this behind you and get on with your life. I was like, I appreciate that. But in my head, I'm like, I'm wrapped. It's a wrap. So.
And so you never got to find out the verdict in that trial because you just dipped?
Yeah. No. So they can try you in abstention, but that never happened.
Really?
They just kept it kind of open to find me. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that didn't happen. That's the best thing in the world. So I'll tell you why. So they got me. They put me in the fucking towers, in the max security bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They kept me there for like a month. And then, because you can't bond out when your case is in another state. You got to be in that state. So I had to sit there. They got to kick you out if they don't extradite you within a month. They wait till the 30th day. Fucking took me to Arizona in a fucking van with no windows, with other motherfuckers, and we like shackled like this. I felt like this must be what slavery felt like. It was so humiliating. Get out to go to the bathroom back at a McDonald's and people looking at you. It fucking sucked, bro. But I was like, I knew this was coming. You know what I'm saying? Get to Arizona, they put me in max security there too. I'm like, yo, fuck this shit. So I wrote a letter, like, yo, it was my white man voice. Like, I thought I was supposed to be considered innocent until proven guilty. I have no priors. I have successful businesses. I need access to the phone so I can, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why you have me in here. Because everybody I was in there with was going away forever. They didn't give a fuck about no rules, right? And my biggest fear was just, I wasn't afraid of anybody in there, but me just defending myself and fucking somebody up and getting more time, catching more cases. Because I know mad people that did like 10 years starting out on a misdemeanor because they be fighting and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm in here with the worst people. You know what I'm saying? So 3 days later, they moved me into a little 3 unit, and which was great because I have freedom, but it was dangerous because everybody moving around. First night at Chow, I hear somebody's strap fall. I'm like, fuck. I can just feel that shit stabbing me. You know what I'm saying? Oof. It's just an unsettling feeling. You know what I'm saying? This is my first time in jail for over a month and all of this shit, right? So my bond was $500,000. So I'm like, let's run it. So my father found an attorney for me, but this guy was nothing. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, no, let's wait. You know, I'm an expert at constitutional law, and this is unconstitutional. Let's wait till the next date. And da-da-da. So that came, another excuse. I'm like, yo. Oh, so then the next time when he really said we're going to get that bond reduced, because I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of money. It ain't that bad here. You know what I'm saying? I'll wait. He acted scared, and it scared me. They came back to me because the inmates were in his room. He said, we cannot ask for a bond reduction. That prosecutor wants you. I mean, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I'm sitting there like stone-faced, like, wait a minute. First, my heart raced. I'm like, nah, there's no prosecutor yet. It doesn't happen like that. You know what I'm saying? I just got here. So I like, okay. So immediately bonded out. I had my dad, had my people get the money, got me out. Fuck that guy, fired him. Then I have money now. You know what I'm saying? I already had multiple businesses, legitimate businesses. So, you know, I ran up the bag. I spared no expense and I got the best attorney that I can get. You know what I'm saying? The one that I heard about before that it was a dream that I could get him. You know what I'm saying? And my first day with him, this time they give me another ankle bracelet, but a metal GPS bracelet. You can't cut that shit off. So that shit dig in your skin every step, right? So it was a year of the adjudication process. While I'm out, had to plug my shit up to the wall 4 hours a day. It sucked. If you drive past like a Greyhound or airport, they call you from the thing. And they're rude. Like, what the fuck are you doing at the airport? Like, I'm like, you gotta just fucking humble yourself and don't say, like, bro, I'm just driving past. They call you from the fucking thing. You know what I'm saying?
What the fuck?
It was so humiliating. So we fighting, and I'm fighting 2 cases now. And my attorney, I loved him because if I would have went to prison at the end of the day, at least I wouldn't have been stressed during that process because he was so confident. He was like a me of a lawyer, you know what I'm saying? And our first sit down, I was like, so okay, sir, what's the strategy? You know what I'm saying? He's like, nothing, we're just gonna beat this shit. I like your style, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, his strategies, he just make them work. He just hit them with motions. and they just he wear him down. He got the first one thrown out, boom, like gone, because it was bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Both of them were bullshit, but on paper they look bad.
He got the manslaughter thrown out.
No, that was the second one. He
Oh,
worked on the
okay.
easy one first,
Right.
the ag assault. So, so the manslaughter was an ag assault at first because it took the dude a few days to perish. You know what I'm saying? Then they reclassified it, and I was like, I felt defeated. But anyway, so he got the first one thrown out. Then he started working on the second one. When the first one got thrown out, I got the thing off. I'm like, this is great. It was great because I got to come back to Cali, like travel, and there's people at my gym that I took care of, that I looked out for, that was happy. Because people have my paperwork, like he's done. Like you said, showing my friends.
You see this happen on YouTube all the time where somebody gets hit with charges and you see a lot of people doing a little victory lap.
So I went back. I remember I went back to the gym. It's bittersweet. I love that place. But there's motherfuckers in there that I hate it now. And I went in there. I made everybody uncomfortable. They had to leave. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's not cool. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so fought the case. So he kept getting it better. Got it back down to ag assault. I'm like, okay. But ag assault is still, ag assault, deadly weapon, danger tag is still a mandatory prison, right? So he says, and I'm like, a year's gone by now. You got to keep in mind, I'm still thinking about the fact that it's not over. I don't know if something from the past gonna come up, whatever. I could still get wrapped the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like stressed, right? So I'm like, so I said, why is it prison? He said, because of the danger tag. I said, how much prison? He says, it's up to them. It could be a year. It could be 3 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, fuck. Initially, in my head, I would have did 3 years. So I'd take 3. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like my life is good. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, fuck. Because when your life ain't good, you don't give a fuck. It's like, it is what it is. It's a stripe. But when your life is good, you don't want to be a story. Like, he could have. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was like, I'm thinking. I'm like, can you ask them to take the danger off? And I'll take it. He said, they don't do that. I said, sir, can you please ask them to take the danger tag off? I'll take the felony. You know what I'm saying? I'll take my chances if it's not a mandatory prison system, a sentence. He's like, in his mind, I could tell he's like, it's not gonna work. But he asked them, they took it off. So I'm like, cool, I'll take the plea. He said, no, I want to get this all the way thrown out. I said, sir, I appreciate everything you've done, but I want to move on with my life. I want this to be done. You know what I'm saying? Because you go to court every month, and it's very stressful every time, getting dressed up, all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, took the danger tag off. I'll take a plea. So, at sentencing, I don't know if you've ever been to a sentencing. On the defendant side is his family. On the state side is cops, right? This time on my side is my family and cops. You know what I'm saying? LAPD SWAT, LA County SWAT, LAPD guys. One of my best friends, a federal cop down at the prison in Yuma. A couple dudes in Arizona. They all came to speak on my behalf, my character. You know what I'm saying? And the judge was so mean, bro. I was so, as a woman, like a Texas white lady. You know what I'm saying? I was like, fuck. And I'm the only black. It's like I look like a criminal. I look scary to them. You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm not, well, maybe I was a little bit, but I see how they see me tatted, all of that shit, right? So she was like, all right, Mr. King, if this was getting adjudicated closer to when this happened, you'd be on your way to prison right now. But the court see that you're not a criminal. Get out of my courtroom. What? Bro.
Wow.
When I'm in the elevator, I was in an elevator by myself. And the dark cloud was gone. And that made me uncomfortable.
Wow.
I was so used to having that limit to happiness and shit.
It's like your little friend, yeah.
Right, bro.
I've been there.
Yeah, man. And so that process, it did a couple things for me. One, it killed my joy. I don't have joy, but it's all right. At least I'm free. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the capacity to feel joy, but I'm a happy person. I'm just not excited. You know what I'm saying? But two, it taught me how to really fucking live. Because back then, every day is potentially my last day. You know what I'm saying? So I learned how to max out on life. You know what I'm saying? Like, do everything. You know, so, and I still have that. It hasn't gone away. I don't think it ever will. So that was a a hell of a fucking ride, bro. It was a hell of a journey. I can't say it was all bad, you know. It really taught me how to. Here's an interesting thing too. That's why I be telling people about like when they down and out. So my father, he always taught me this. My father's the fucking guy. He said, son, we people of character, so you don't show character, you don't develop character when everything's fine. It's when you lose your job, when your girlfriend leave you, when shit ain't cool. How are you gonna act then? You know what I'm saying? You dig yourself out of that shit, you smile, you don't complain to nobody, and it's gonna make you so much stronger, more powerful. And that whole process, it wasn't like I was consciously thinking about what my dad said, but he instilled it in me so much is to be a man and take your shit and own your take responsibility for your actions. I did. In jail, motherfuckers be like, man, they fucking violating our rights. I'd be like, bro, we don't have rights. We in jail, motherfucker. Just come on, man.
It's interesting when you said about you don't have joy at this point, because that's one thing that my therapist has sort of busted out on me, is that she's acknowledged that a lot of times I'll be talking about something that I have reason to be genuinely extremely happy about, and then I start adding caveats to it of sort of like, well, but this negative thing's probably going to happen, or I shouldn't get too happy about it because this might happen or whatever. And it's like, I am kind of like mentally scarred from like accomplishing things and then sort of having them taken away from me, even in situations like YouTube where you make a bunch of money and then all of a sudden they take ads away or something like that. Or, you know, I've just haven't been through that shit so many fucking times that it's like, it's hard for me to just live in the current happiness of the moment, you know? And she'll always try to remind me of that and tell me like, you know, you don't have to think about what might happen one day. You can just be happy about this thing that you're experiencing right now, and especially in fatherhood. It's like the ultimate thing where it's like, you need to just relax and just enjoy this because you're not going to get this back, this time with them.
So with my children, that brings me to, I feel the most accomplished when, you know, I look at how dope they're turning out, but I'm on edge. My son is 16. And right now it's such an important, because I remember myself at those ages, that shit was like, man, it could be all bad or all good. And my son is fucking smart. He has a real powerful brain. He's his own man. And I love that, right? And I just keep kind of, I don't want to do too much and I don't want to do enough. And then he just fucking, you know what I'm saying? So I just enough. It's a constant like game of me figuring out. And my youngest, my daughter, she's 7. She's fucking dope, bro. And she started a new school today, and I'm just happy because her brain is so good, so much personality, and so smart. Challenges me. I can't just tell them anything.
Right.
She's like, that doesn't make sense. So I have to explain. Because, you know, when I was growing up, my parents didn't try to explain shit to me. It's like, because I said so.
And I talk about the challenge of, you know, being able to really be still and just enjoy the joy of appreciating your kids and, like, think about trying to do that, which you've got plenty of experience with, of trying to do that while having this potential 10-year sentence hanging over your fucking head that you don't know what's going to happen.
That was my great motivator, though, I couldn't fathom being taken away from my children. You know what I'm saying? Now, I had a contingency plan for if I did have to sit still. You know, I would do my best to constantly stay in touch with them. But me personally, I've always been a fan of like learning and being educated, and I educate myself to a great extent. But if I had to go to jail, I was going to be Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? I was going to just try to be as powerful as I could mentally because I have nothing else to do. You feel me? Like, matter of fact, when I first got to jail, one of my business partners, Natalie, shout out to Natalie, that's my dog, but she was trying to get me to write ebooks for my training. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But when you're making money all these other places, you're not thinking about that one extra stream and you're busy. But when I was in jail, I'm not busy, so I started writing the ebooks and making mad money from jail. So I'm like, all right, jail is a very dope place if you make it dope. You know what I'm saying? So I made that shit work for me. You know what I'm saying? So if I had to go away for a long time, I'm gonna become so fucking intelligent. You know what I'm saying? So that was that. So what I was getting at was like the year that I was fighting it finally, right? I had an ankle bracelet. I'm not exaggerating. It was this big. It dig into my skin when I walk. So what did I do? I still did my YouTube videos. I started taking more of these one-off clients. You know what I'm saying? I'm being positive. I never mentioned anything, that I'm going through anything to nobody, right? And I proceeded more my life like it was no issues. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was hurting on the inside. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I had downtime and quiet time, you start thinking about shit. What can happen? What can happen? So, but I have a way of mentally protecting myself from these bad things and thinking glass half full type shit. And that shit kept me in a good space. I also was meditating at the time. You know what I'm saying? That shit did so much for me, bro. So much, right? So it made me so honest. It made with myself first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? And when you're honest with everybody else, it's like, yeah, this is the situation. You know what I'm saying? So nothing's ever that bad. So, you know, I weathered that and kept working and doing the shit that my father told me to do. Like, this is how you develop character. When shit is fucked up and you still smile, and you still treat people good, and you don't steal shit, and you don't do this and do that. And that's exactly what I did, bro. And Adam, it was many times where I hit little forks in the road emotionally, and I wanted to go hurt people. Like people I know who ain't shit, but celebrating and talking shit, I wanted to just, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I didn't. You feel me? So
that's a big part of becoming a public figure, is having to learn to just let people talk about you and not react. You see it, you don't say shit, you just let it happen.
I mean, at the end of the day, here's my experience with people that I used to be very reactionary, but reaction, that shit it gets you fucked up, right? So when I started really understanding that, I'm like, all right, people do things to me, you know, from afar, say things or whatever. I hate it, but I just leave it alone. And they usually unravel themselves. Something bad happened to them, or they just disappear or whatever. Not disappear like that, but I'm just saying, like, their careers don't work out, and I'm always still good. You feel me? So I learned that, like, yo, fuck it. It's unfortunate that he has to resort to that. You know what I'm saying?
This is one thing I really wanted to ask is you talk about how you got that reaction when you went on Fresh and Fit, and that at that time you didn't know anything about the Manosphere or whatever. You were just this sort of lone content creator. You didn't realize that there was like this whole other world developing of different channels. How do you see where you fit into that?
Well, like I told them, because I did a video like discussing my experience with them after the first time and their audience. I'm like, look, honestly, I'm the archetype of which I want to be. You know what I'm saying? I think it's silly to for me, I don't have any interest in just sitting around talking about girls, right? So, but I get girls. I've gotten girls when I didn't have money. I understood my position as well. Like I was telling my homegirl out here, Carla, like back in the day, when I was young, I had no money, I was banging bad chicks, but that was it. I couldn't afford to take them on dates. I knew that shit, so I didn't even try to have a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I understood that when I, you know, as you level up and boss up, you like, because a real flex is having your woman be a dime. Like, not just you fuck the dime. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Maintain that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I always understood that. You know what I'm saying? And I also grew up in the Nation of Islam. And my spiritual father, Mr. Farrakhan, said that he was giving a speech to young men. I never forget this shit because it hit me right in my fucking spine. He was like, you do not have I'm paraphrasing, but he said, you do not get the right to enjoy the pleasures of a woman's breast if you can't take care of her. I was like, fuck, he's right. Cause he's breaking it down like, what are you providing? You know what I'm saying? And in this world, I don't give a fuck what nobody say, men are not loved unconditionally, and we shouldn't be. Because we'd be soft if we were.
We have to become something before we get treated that way. Whereas the woman, just off of being young and attractive, they get to be the prize off rip.
I'm fine with that. So where I fit, I told him, I said, look, I'm what y'all want to be. It sounded cocky, but I'm like, it's true. And then as time went on, I would make more appearances. I would understand their perspective a little bit more, but they would see my life more too, like their audience, like. Fresh and Fit are my homies. Like I like those guys, right?
Right.
And I understand what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? However, I just didn't understand that there was such a vast group of men that never got girls. You know what I'm saying? So what they're doing is necessary because they're Jesus to a lot of motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't relate to those people that needed that.
But people will, like, their fans will listen to them talk about how to get girls because they look at those dudes and they realize that these are dudes who maybe in another timeline would not have gotten girls. But somebody like Myron, like, grew up in this like conservative ass Muslim environment and stuff, and created this big ass fucking empire, and decided that he wanted to get girls and he wanted to be in shape, etc. And he just kind of like created this lifestyle for himself. Whereas I think that they look at you and maybe to an extent me, and they think, oh, these just seem like confident, cool dudes who would be able to fucking get pussy no matter what, because they just would be able to automatically have that rapport with girls. They look at Fresh and they're like, this guy's getting pussy. He had to figure some shit out to get himself into this position, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And listen, you're right. But that's the plight of every man, you know what I'm saying, to an extent, because regardless of how people viewed you, I'm sure you had your phases where you didn't feel comfortable approaching
Hell
girls.
no. I had times where I was in the bar frozen. I wanted to talk to all these hot chicks, and I just didn't have that fucking confidence at times in my life, where at times when you go through a breakup and it's hard for you to get your swagger back of like really being able to be free and talking to women or whatever, or being able to break that ice. I mean, that's why there's such an audience for this Manosphere shit, is because
you figured it out, though. You figured out a thing.
Going up to a girl in a public place and starting a conversation is one of the most anxiety-ridden tasks that a guy will ever have to do. Some of the craziest, like, adrenaline moments, honestly, in my life are when I cold approached a girl in, like, a bar or a coffee spot.
What would you say? Hey,
I remember one time there was a girl.
Latte? You like latte?
There was a girl that I had exchanged glances with a couple of times in the coffee shop, but she's with her mom. She's sitting with her mom, right? And I just decided in my head, I'm like, fuck it, I'm doing this. So as I'm walking out, I just
watch it. Her mom's right there.
I slide right up to the table and I just introduce her to myself, introduce herself to the mom, and I just say, I was wondering if I could get your phone number, if I could take you out sometime. And you see the mom immediately just like gushing, like she's loving it, you know? She doesn't get this attention from dudes anymore. So the fact that I had the balls to do it, and that then I was raw dogging her 2 days later on my couch was just like, God, the best fucking feeling.
Condoms are for the weak.
You're creating pussy out of thin air in that situation, because there's no reason why I had to make communication with this girl.
Here's the thing.
She's from a totally different world. She was going to some Christian university, whatever. That's such a good feeling.
Here's the thing. There's a phrase that's so accurate. Fortune rewards the bold. You feel me? Just do it. I mean, just do it, Nike. Just do it. They're right. Just do it. Just do it. If they say no, fuck it, next time. Now, there's people that play the numbers game. I don't like that shit. My ego, I don't like that kind of bruising. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm just not, it's not that important to me. You know what I'm saying? And I truly believe, like, if I see somebody that I'm attracted to, the vibe gotta be perfect for me to go up to them and say something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would do shit like that. I remember I was just a trainer, not making much money at all. I live in downtown Long Beach. It was this bad chick that I would see at the gym, but I happened to see her at the restaurant, and I'm out with, I was there. I was gonna meet a girl, but I went there to get a drink, and I liked her. So I ordered a bottle of wine for the table, because wine is cheap, even in the restaurant, but it looks like a grand gesture, you know what I'm saying? And it's a nice thing to do. So I told the waiter, I said, don't tell her it was me. She's gonna figure it out, you know what I'm saying? Because we caught eyes or whatever, but I didn't want to just go say nothing. And I usually don't just go up to girls. So I sent the bottle, dipped out. So at the gym that next week, she was like, hey, Saka, come here. Did you send that bottle? I was like, what bottle? I played stupid, but I played stupid, but it's obvious that I'm playing stupid. You know what I'm saying? And that shit worked out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not that guy like, hey, what's up? I just don't want to bother nobody. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm gonna find a way to make it, we connect. I don't like stepping up to girls around people either. You know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna, I feel like it'll decrease my chances, because she wants to have a certain perception of her. You know what I'm saying?
There's a thing in the Manosphere or whatever. There's a way that they look down upon guys who are in relationships, and it just seems kind of bizarre to me, because, and there's also this obsession with like girls having mileage on them, you know. And it's like when you look at the most successful people in our field, whether it's hip hop or entertainment, whatever, it's like the vast majority of them end up in a relationship. And yeah, some of them are cheating, and some of them have open relationships and shit like that. But at the end of the day, it's the most human thing on earth to want to have your queen and build something together, right? And I mean, when you, like, dudes will talk about a girl just because she's slept with somebody that they know as if she's completely done, like she's off the fucking sexual marketplace. And the example,
I think that term is a weird term, sexual marketplace.
Right. Well, I mean, just the way of describing the incentives and stuff.
It came down from Kevin Samuels.
Right. But just the fact that, like, you look at Travis Scott. This is a guy who's got his pick of realistically probably every woman on earth if he wanted to be in a relationship with him. And he's with realistically one of the richest, most famous girls on earth. And he knows a variety of different people who've slept with her at some point before them. It's been rumored, even like his peers like Drake, etc.
Who cares?
He's over it. He doesn't care. He's put 2 babies in her. He's publicly aligned with her. And then you sort of see like a lot of these Fresh and Fit fans who, if that was their friend who was dating some dope chick that had already slept with a bunch of their homies, to them that seems like a mortal sin. And I don't really understand that mentality.
Well, people, like I said, like we were talking about earlier, people fear what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer, or hate what they feel like they can't have.
That's an opinion that's also easy to have when you're young and you lack experience. By the time you're in your 30s and 40s, you just take it for granted. Like, of course, you know that these girls have been around the block before most of the time, right?
You accept a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you get it. You know what I'm saying? And then
because you've been around the block.
You got to think about yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't think it's 1 and 1. I don't think it's binary, the same.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Women and women. But I do understand and can appreciate a woman of modesty. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a lot of that shit these days. You know what I mean? And I do have a certain perspective on this whole dating shit, right? I'm a person that do shit with intentions, right? Now, I'm a guy, horny as fuck, like girls. However, I care. I'm a lover. I'm a care bear, and I have a daughter. You know what I'm saying? So and it's always been put in my mind, like, if you have this woman, treat her great. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I enjoy that. I enjoy that whole process. So I prefer to be in a relationship. I don't like being single. You know what I'm saying? I like to have somebody checking up on me when I'm out of town. You know what I'm saying? Or with me, my ride or die, like all of that shit, a best friend or 2 best friends. You know what I'm saying? Or 3 or 4. Not 4, that's too many. But I'm just saying, though, like, this my little family. You know what I'm saying? I'm a family-oriented guy. You know what I mean? So I think my views are very traditional. You know what I mean? It's just in our country, in our society, it's weird that they look down on that shit because it's not a Christian thing, and this is quote-unquote a Christian nation, even though the founding fathers was like, fuck religion. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the shit was written in the Constitution. You know what I mean? So, but people run with shit, and that's weird. Ooh, that's gross. So many people I've talked to, first of all, any girl that I've ever fucked with, and I sit down and give them the spiel, they get it, and they with it. Even if they're not at first, I make it normal to them. You know what I'm saying? And they're with it. Now, people I'm not really interested in, we're just talking, having conversation, and shit comes up, and they be like, I've never done. I said, I'm not with that shit. I said, oh, you tried it and you didn't like it? No, I never tried it. Oh, but monogamy works because you're single. You know what I'm saying? You got cheated on. You know what I mean? Like, or, you know, it's like when you have a person that you're attracted to that can do all of the things, the fairy tale shit that you would like, and will never lie to you. Yeah, he's gonna have sex with her too. But you know this. We're good. We have trust and respect, right? What's the problem? Because I feel like the most charitable thing that we can give to each other is honesty.
Right.
When you got somebody you can rely on telling the fucking truth. Look, I don't have friends that cheat on their girlfriends. I'm not with that shit. Because just so happened I'm at an age to where I don't have time just to be friends and hang out.
Right.
I'll hang out with my friends, but we make money together too.
Right.
So now I do have friends that we don't make money together. We don't see each other that often. And that's fine. I still love them. But typically the people I'm around, we're making money together. And we just happen to travel together and have fun and all of that shit. Like,
my relationship is that much stronger because my girl has seen me fuck hundreds of chicks in front of her.
And you come right to her.
And she realizes that then she sees me sitting on the couch chilling afterwards, not trying to be all up in this girl's shit and trying to get her number and try to talk to her right after. That, I think, gives her like way more confidence in our relationship, you know? Or the fact that even like we could be out at a restaurant and I could say, oh, look at that girl, like look at her ass, like look how good her ass looks or some shit. And realistically, she could say, oh, the waiter was so handsome or some shit, and I don't fucking care, and that doesn't. It's not the kind of thing that would get to me.
Does she And y'all do the scenes? Do she do stuff with guys?
Nah.
Nah, you wouldn't be with that?
Nah, I feel like that's a bridge too far.
It's weird.
I mean, listen, if she was the only breadwinner in the house, then
You have no choice.
I feel like maybe I would just have to stomach that. But being that, you know, and it's just the fact that, like, we've been together 6 years. And to be honest, for like the first 5 years, we never even had the conversation. And then we kind of talked about it. And
That's
ultimately, it was just like, I don't want to be in a relationship like that. And to her, she's not really pressed about it either. I mean, I think that emotionally, we both like.
Well, y'all talk about having an open relationship?
Actually, no, we've not really talked about that at all. I don't think either of us is really interested in sleeping with people outside of the content thing.
Yeah,
but I feel like also we just kind of made enough money and got to the point where I'm like, I've told her many times, like, you don't have to do this shit anymore. You can just have kids and just chill at the house.
Y'all still do it?
Porn stuff together? Yeah.
Okay, that's dope. It sounds fun.
Oh, that's a great
You know
time.
what I'm saying?
I can't lie.
Yeah. I've done mini porns for home.
Keep it on the PC.
Yeah, private, you know what I'm saying? But never no shit out there. You know what I mean?
I'm sure you probably do pretty well, but if everything went to shit, you could probably hop in that game.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
That's real. But,
Yo, I got a bunch of other shit on the schedule, so we should definitely do a part 2 at some point, though, too. Or actually, I'm gonna go on your podcast soon, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Out in Orange County.
Dope.
OC.
Let's
you
do
ever
it.
been OZ?
Yeah, I used to go to OC all the time. It's been a minute.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on, bro.
No doubt, man. Yeah, I appreciate your time.
Yes,
There's
sir.
definitely a lot more shit that I want to get into, so I'm sure that we could do a part 2 even after I go on yours. So
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
My guy. Thank you,
sir.
Mike. Everybody check out his channel, subscribe, all that shit. Appreciate you, man. No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, Instagram, etc. Like, comment, and subscribe. NoJumper.com if you want to support. Appreciate y'all.
Get out of here.